I'm going live! I'm going live! Got it! I'm going live! I'm live! We'll do it live! All right, we're live. Trying to do my best, what was it, Bill O'Reilly impersonation. What's up, Vasu? So, we are public right now, and usually I can see something's up here with my, I guess I'm okay here. I want to go into why should everybody lift? Why should people be lifting weights? Why should we be resistance training? Happy Black Friday. And then we're going to go into the actual chat, and I'm going to hear from everybody. But I think a couple things right off the bat that I wanted to start off with is, why do we actually start to train? Why do we start lifting? We have to get up early tomorrow. It's 11 p.m. already, Vasu. That's crazy. So actually, this is something that you can actually, it's favorable towards you, Vasu, here. And you guys, Vasu, Kevin, they had done they're inside of the actual membership part of our YouTube Live. So if you join our membership, it's $10 for a month, and you get these lectures basically from me just talking about training, talking about the very specific back end of training, very in detailed stuff where you guys can ask me whatever questions you want, and it's essentially a much more intimate, as I would like to describe it, and a little bit more nitty gritty. But going off of for today, I think when we look at why should we strength train, and I want to use Vasu almost as an example with his children, is that when you're starting to look at strength training, right, and you're actually seeing, okay, when can athletes start training? They could start training in first grade, second grade, third grade. That they could start actually resistance training at that point, right? And then as we get through it, it's like, what are we going to see? There's a whole bunch of different factors. There's going to be physical adaptations. There's going to be performance improvements specific to sports. There's going to be confidence improvement, okay? So if we can think through this, when you're a fourth grader, a fifth grader, a sixth grader, what are you going to see? What are we looking for? And that mainly is just going to come back to improving sports performance to a point, getting kids to be a little bit more active, getting them to coordinate a little bit more reactively. And then I think this is where most people get to, right? When they're in 7th, 8th, 9th grade, okay? Think about the first time that you guys stepped into a weight room. You're in 7th, 8th, 9th grade. And I'm thinking about myself, why did I first start to lift? When I first started to lift, there was a couple big factors. One, I wanted to be really, really good at sports. I wanted to be a good thrower, or at the time, actually, I wanted to be a good football player. I wanted to be a good wrestler. And I had this knack that I just wanted to get big. I just wanted to be bigger. And I think that a lot of that goes back to, I had confidence issues. And so there's a little bit of self-confidence. And that's why we get pulled to the gym, is that, we start to train when you're in 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, and you start to lift, you have, this quick response. You have this quick physical adaptation, and it's enjoyable. And because it happens so quickly, because you get stronger so fast, you buy into it more. And then when you buy into it more, you do it harder, and you add a day or something. So you go from, 3 days a week to 4 days a week to 5 days a week. And for me personally, I used to ride my bike about 5 miles to a gym near my parents' house, maybe about 3 to 4 miles probably. I would ride my bike. I was in 8th grade, 9th grade, and I'd ride my bike there, and I'd lift for 2 hours, and I'd go to the grocery store right next door, and I would buy a whole thing of milk, and sometimes I'd get a donut, but I would drink that milk because some old-timer bodybuilder that was there was like, yeah, if you drink milk, you'll get stronger. And I did that 5 days a week, okay? So in that first year, 6 months into lifting, I had put on like 15, 20 pounds. I actually started to grow quite a bit, and I was just entirely bought into the reward of it. And when you get bought into that reward and you see the results, you commit even further. So now you're committing to gaining more muscle mass. Okay, so if I can gain more muscle mass, I'm going to be more explosive. I'm going to then transfer that over to whatever sports world that I'm in. If I'm an older individual, right? If I'm 25, 30, 35 years old, it's going to help me with my health. It's going to help me regulate things like insulin and stuff like that. But those early ages, it's very, very interesting. And I think that that's why I love strength coaching, is that I can see kids, come into the gym and they were at that point that I was, and I can see, even with you guys, it's like helping you when you're 15, 16, 17 years old, or even if you're 40, you first get into this and you have this confidence that might be down here, but then you do work. And when you do work and you see a result, your confidence grows a little bit. And it grows even further, and it grows even further, and then you start to feel really good mentally as you age, and you start to establish these goals, and you start to create these better habits to achieve goals. And I think that's the other factor that is so appealing to resistance-based training, is that you see your health improve, you see your performance improve, but on top of that, it's the habit, right? You can set the goal of, I want to bench one day in my life 400 pounds. I for sure, Vasu, I would get her into resistance-based training as soon as you can. I like to think about 10-year-olds when they come into the gym. Like, we're doing a lot of gymnastics. We're doing a lot of light barbell movements, learning how to snatch, learning how to clean, and taking, use a female 10-year-old as an example. They're a little quirky. They're a little gangly. They don't have a lot of coordination. But now, let's say with your daughter, she learns how to snatch. Okay, after she learns how to snatch, she learns how to clean, and she learns how to do pull-ups. And now all of a sudden, she has that confidence because she's doing that work on a consistent basis, and that work results in pull-ups. It results in a better snatch. It results in a better clean, in a better squat. And then that carries over to whatever sport she's in. And I think that that's the overarching theme here, is that resistance-based training creates these habits. And so we're very goal-oriented, but it's the habits that lead to those goals being achieved. And then you can start to carry that over from, the lesson of strength and conditioning, of the habitual effort that you put out, starts to leak into other areas of your life, and it starts to improve other areas of your life because of how you're just becoming a better individual from the habitual improvements. And so I think, too, it's like when we look at the actual physical adaptation, kids that are in 9th and 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, they're going to have greater bone density, okay? They're going to have a more stable joints, right? They're going to have and as you age, you're even going to have, now what they're seeing is that muscles are essentially, we've got to look at it more like organs, and so they communicate for your immune system, and then that transfers through myokine communication. And when we have myokine communication that is improving, now all these things start to lead to better health. Again, I want to cycle back to that confidence issue. I think about like the kid who's in 9th grade, who maybe he's 5'5", right? Maybe he's 5'6", and he's been playing sports. He's fast, but he never hit a growth spurt, and he can't keep up with some of these other guys. So now he's playing American football or something, and he's just getting destroyed. Well, his confidence is going to be really, really low, but he can't find something that he really wants to hold on to, because a lot of his identity was built on, playing team sports like football. Well, now he finds the weight room, and he goes in the weight room 3, 4 to 5 days a week, and he starts to get stronger. His bench goes up, his pull-ups start to improve. He realizes, well, he's a little shorter, his squat's pretty good, and then he starts to see there's a whole nother world outside of just American football. There's a whole nother world outside of baseball. There's wrestling, there's weightlifting, there's powerlifting, there's bodybuilding. And now, you start to focus on your actual nutrition, and you start to see, wow, if I eat a little bit cleaner as an individual, if I'm eating cleaner, I'm also going to have better responses. And so I think that's some of the stuff right off the bat that everybody learns when they first start to lift. And so for me personally, that was a huge, eye-opening experience as a young kid. And then that got me into wanting to learn more and studying books like this from Bill Pearl, and going to the grocery store and buying, Flex magazine, and you just start to read, and and dive deeper into this knowledge. And I think that journey, that path that resistance-based training creates for people, for athletes, is what is so attractive, and it's one of those things on why we all should be resistance-based training. And I think it's also one of those things too where it's like we start on this journey when we are at a point of vulnerability, you know, when we're 12, 13, 14, 15 years old. But then as we grow and as we age, we start to realize that the journey in the weight room isn't just benching, squatting, you know, deadlifting, pull-ups. It's also nutrition. It's also sleep patterns. It's also, if we're in sports, it's also creating better habits and creating better rituals. It's also, you know, now we can start to see, you know, as we age, then as we get to 40, 50, 60, 70 years old, there's other ways that you can actually do resistance training to help and improve your health. And it's just this lifelong path of enjoyment and challenge and nutritional focus and all these other things that really just come into play. So I just wanted to share that and really just open up with that, where it's like, why did you start to exercise when you were younger? What was it that triggered that spark? And then for me, it's like, how can we continuously bring more and more people into this sort of ecosystem of lifting so that they can have their own path, their own journey that we can all be a part of and support and just grow these different individuals, grow these different athletes. So that's mainly, you know, one of the first things I just wanted to touch on was why did I get into this? Why did I get into lifting? Why are you getting into lifting? Why do you want, you know, your kids to get into lifting? And it just goes back to coordination, building the muscular structure, getting a little bit larger, triggering those hormonal responses, developing that self-confidence, developing that self-esteem, and working through those. And this is one thing too, I actually did want to bring this up, is that when you're 15, 16, 17 years old, you know, you're training, you got your earbuds in. You know, back in the day, we used to have our CD system was in our garage at my parents' house, and you know, we'd be blasting Rage Against the Machine or White Zombie or Tool, whoever, right? Nine Inch Nails, and you have so much anger, and there's not a lot of ways to express that energy, that anger energy. There's not a lot of ways to express it outside of something like football. So I think that's another really cool outlet around lifting and training and sports performance training, is that you start to feel these things, you know, you're feeling all this rage and stuff, and a lot of people will sort of tell you to stifle it, don't express it. But when you're in resistance-based training, it's a really cool outlet to express it, and then to harness it, and then to motivate yourself to use that and to get better towards whatever goals that you're working towards. And I think that's something that we have lacked over the last like 20 years, is that some people, you know, and I'm not saying that we should be angry all the time and treat people poorly. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying it is one of those emotions that people struggle with managing and dealing with. And that's another aspect behind lifting, is that it just helps with stress management. And if one of your stressors in life is leading to more anger, resistance-based training is pretty freaking good. And you can use that as a motivational tool. And it sort of reminds me, actually, I've been listening to J-Rock lately, and he's got a song that's called Win. And it just like reminds me that that's like one of those songs that just makes me think about when I first started lifting, and all I thought about was winning. Like, I want to win. You know, and he says, F everything else, win, right? And it's like, that energy is still in me right now with the business. It's still in me with being a parent and being a father. And it's like everything that energy that I have is like all rooted really in the expression of resistance-based training and the expression of why you need to lift. And I think that when you start to harness those different emotions, anger, sadness, happiness, positivity, when you start to harness that and bring that into it, it's almost like lifting becomes even more, you know, it become even more of like a actual specific therapist to a point, right? So yeah, want to see what you guys think about that. Jason, it's hard for me to get my notes up if I'm on here unless I bring this up on Asana. I'm yelling at Jason. He's in the other room. I can't. Jason is the YouTube man behind the scenes, so he's going to be. Is it in the script? Jason? He's going to be coming on here live this 3-hour session today. So it's going to be huh?
It's in the script, yes. I'm sorry.
Which script? Which task? The script lesson plan or something else?
YouTube live stream notes, Black Friday.
Is that due today? Yeah, I see it. Okay. Jason's the man behind the scenes. He does all the filming and editing. We have another video editor too, but he's going to be coming on live. So we got a crazy session today. If you guys have any questions, comment in there right now. You know, start this chat up. Let me know if we've got what your thoughts are on lifting, and if you want any more stories from me, especially with those early ages, the early days of training. It's funny because it's like yeah, Vasu just said it looks like a lot of the soccer players could do a lot more lifting. I think that's like the one issue. Okay, this is where I'll get into a little bit of a rant. Is that I think I always look at soccer through the lens of American football, and I'll look at the through that lens. If I had a safety, okay, a free safety in football, or a wide receiver, right? Or a strong safety, maybe even a middle linebacker to a point, running back. If those guys are playing 60-minute football games, and what's up, Steve? And they're playing at a very high intensity. Okay, so if we have these football players, and what I don't get is why aren't we looking at a sport like soccer, American, or the World Cup? Why don't they want to train like a wide receiver? Or why wouldn't they want to train like a safety? Like, why wouldn't they want to get a little bit bigger? What would be Thanksgiving was great, Steve. How was your Thanksgiving? Why wouldn't they want to get a little bit more hypertrophic? Because you're going to have a little bit more speed. You're going to be able to be a little bit more aggressive. It's probably going to make the actual intensity of the competition even more exciting. So I think that's one thing I've always wondered with soccer and with European football is like, why not try and train like someone like Sean Taylor? Like, why not do a little bit more lifting? Because you see how fast these guys are in the NFL. Look at Nicholas, our running back at Penn State. The dude's run a 4.3, weighing 220. What if I think it would make the soccer games that much more intense. I know that they have, it's a 90-minute game, but they're also not running at that. They're not running constantly. So that's like something I have thought about. Like, you'd probably have less flopping and like the classic sort of like football fails. But you'd also have, I think it would just be a more intense game. You'd have longer kicks, more power output in the kicks, and they'd still be able to train their skill sessions. They'd still be able to have that skill works. It's like, I've always thought that, Vasu. So it's interesting that you brought that up because it's like it would just transfer to more speed and more power output. So why not do that? I was just gonna say, Jason, that the chat issue there I thought was
No, that's on me.
Okay. So it looks like everybody now is going to be able to chat. So we actually had a members only mode on the chat. So if you're tuning in, we were going on ranting about why we started to lift essentially. And then now everybody's going to be able to come in here and go nuts. But I think too, it's like, now that of course we get a spam right away we get spam. When we first start lifting, when we first start training, what do you guys want to hear? What do you guys think about that really motivated you so much at an early age? What was it that really sparked you to get into it? And Vasu, this could even be a question for you, is like, what is it that you would like to see from your children? Your daughter and your son. What would you want that outcome to be for their own strength training? What's that path that you want to see them take? So we had that members only mode was on. You were not able to chat in there unless you were a member. So we apologize for that. Steve just said his younger brother played soccer at 225 when he was a sophomore in high school. That's big. That's nice. So if you guys want, you can join our members only chat, and that's going to be 3 times a month where we have a specific session for you guys to come in and chat directly with me. Bry Camp just said, I started to lift to help with my depression. Even though I'm not strong, but it genuinely helps me mentally, and I don't know that a feeling of working hard is addicting. You know what I mean? Yeah, I think that's the other thing, Bry, is like you get when you get into powerlifting to wrestling. Yeah, more mobility. Make sure, Steve, you got to get your brother losing a little bit of weight there. Yeah, exactly. I would say, that's the thing though with lifting early on is like just the mindset of, so Bri was talking about, he was in a almost a depressed state, and emotionally he didn't feel stable. But one of the things that lifting does is the hard work becomes addictive. And I even think too, it's like there's brain-derived nootropic factor, BDNF. Okay, so if we go out for a run or if we lift, BDNF gets released and triggered in our brain, and that in turn helps regulate our emotions and our the way that our mindset is feeling, or the way that we're feeling it. It leads to this productive, positive mindset. And so the more BDNF that gets released, the likelihood of preventing things like Alzheimer's and stuff like that actually occurs. So I also think, like, at an early age, I remember doing tricep pushdowns or bench presses and just getting that big pump in my triceps, right? This huge pump, and being like, man, I love how that feels. I love that it's like almost sort of painful, but it felt so good. And then doing that on a leg press or doing that on a back squat. And I even mentioned that in our leg press videos. Like, one of the best parts behind leg press is that you learn how to push yourself. And if you're one of those young guys that, you don't really like squatting yet, but you learn how to actually push yourself with your legs with a leg press, it can be really, really rewarding and really, really fun. So that makes sense, Bri. That makes absolute sense. So Nathan just said he's 14, he's 210 pounds, he's 5'10", he benches 160. Is that a good start in my lifting journey? So this would be a good response to anybody. Nathan, you're starting your journey right at your place. I have some kids that'll be 14. They'll be 14 years old and they weigh 200 pounds and they might bench 225 when they start. And I have other kids that might bench 80 pounds and you're benching 160. So it's like wherever you are, that's where your starting point is. But then just monitor, like, all right, if I show up, 4 days a week, I want to push this goal. I want to bench 225. And I remember being in your age in 9th grade and being like, I want to bench 200 pounds for 3 reps. And I remember it took me like 6-7 weeks to bench 205. I remember putting the 35 on the outside, 205 for a triple. And when I did that, I was like, oh my gosh, I might be able to bench 225. And then I remember the first time I could bench 225, two plates on each side, being like, I did it. I did it. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that I actually did it. And then, then you start repping those 2 plates and it's like all of a sudden that confidence builds. So Nathan, when you're asking that question, I would say, look at it through your lens and where you're at and how you are today, and just constantly chip away at it. And you're gonna feel good as you go through that path. Retro Loot. I got my own garage gym here in Lakeland, Florida. He's training 3 high school football players. They are all different positions: D lineman, wide receiver, and a running back. I would train the wide receiver and a running back. Wide receiver, you could be a little bit more lax on like hypertrophy work. Running back, D lineman, they can get a little bit bigger. They could get a little bit more hypertrophic work on pushing their squats, work on pushing their cleans. The wide receiver, it depends on the height. But I don't know if I would train them the exact same, but pretty similar, because they're also all probably pretty young. They're high school football players. Dawson's asking about fasting. Is it okay to do it? My question, Dawson, would be why? What's the purpose of the fast? Do we need to fast? Is that something that you have to do? Like that's a big question that I would have. What's the point of it? What is the exact reason? Tori Modosu, should I do sumo or conventional deadlift for sprinting performance? Tori, I would probably do for sprint performance. I would do more single leg squats or high bar back squats. Deadlifts aren't the best for sprint performance. I would not do CrossFit for boxing, Patrick. I would do something. I mean, I would do our actual boxing program. But I don't think CrossFit's bad. I think CrossFit's great, but I would not use that for boxing. So Dawson's saying that he wants to fast to slim down for basketball. Well, I would argue you don't need to fast to slim down. What you need to do is make sure that your caloric intake. Okay, so if we took research here, and if it's easier for you to fast, that's perfectly fine. It probably is safe. But if we took fasting versus non-fasting, but they each ate 2,000 calories, they're going to lose the exact same amount of weight. Okay, so Dawson, if you fasted and you ate 2,000 calories in a day, or you didn't fast and you had 2,000 calories in a day, you're going to see the exact same amount of weight loss. The fast has been shown over and over and over again that as long as the calories are equal, it doesn't change weight loss. It might be easier for you to maintain to only eat 2,000 calories when you're fasting, so that might be a different factor. So I would play around with it if you want. Will the Sports Performance Bible make me into an athletic god? Big fan, by the way. It could. Yes, in theory it could, Zach, for sure. It's going to help you follow specific things with technical coordination. It's going to help you set up your workouts. It definitely could. Steve, I think fasting's okay for wrestling, especially based around weigh-ins. If you're timing your weigh-ins properly, I think it's okay. For Wayne, former collegiate powerlifter at Louisiana Tech, now he's in his 50s and he's looking to apply strength training to mountain biking and overall longevity, stability, and range of motions issues most immediate concern. So I would say there, Wayne, do some single leg work. Make sure you're doing easy bodybuilding stuff, and you're also just focusing on that long steady state endurance. So we got 25% off. Jason is walking in here right now. Hi, Jason.
Hello.
And he is here to remind me to push. It's Black Friday. It is Black Friday, and the deals are on. We're 30 minutes into a 3-hour live stream. And so what we're focusing on is if you spend $150, you're going to get a free hydro weight, okay? And you'll get a free T-shirt. So $150. If you spend $150, you can buy Sports Performance Bible. You can buy the Parabolic Periodization book and course. You could buy a single leg roller. You could buy any of that stuff. Can you see him now, Vasu? And you'll get a free hydro weight. So $150. Buy one of the books. And if you put in the notes, I'll even sign that book just for you. And anybody who actually does buy, if you put in your what's it called, the order.
Yeah, your order.
If you put in your order number, I'll answer your question immediately. Somebody did ask me a question on creatine. Landon, do you have to cycle on and off creatine and just take 5 grams forever? You can cycle on and off, and you don't have to, but I do think that when you do cycle on and off, you notice it a little bit more. So mentally, it might be a little bit better. The app does not count towards that $150 purchase, right?
No,
because it's a different website, so that does not count. Now, one thing I did want to bring up, we're so bad at pushing these, but these are like the straps that I use for our deadlifts and rows, stuff like that, and they're sweet. They're like, I think these are like $15-20.
Mm-hmm. They're very high quality. They're from Hook Grip, I believe.
Yeah, so Hook Grip's who we use, and they are real sweet. What should you do for hurling? Hurling like the Gaelic sport? Is that that question? How can you lift weights as a high enough intensity and volume to stimulate muscular hypertrophy without impeding training in a specific sport due to muscle soreness? Sam the Bean, that's an amazing question. So think about, one, I like to base, we got our Powerlastics here too. Geez, Jason's bringing it all in. Don't forget, you can buy, Powerlastics. Hey, can you bring me my coffee then? You can buy Powerlastics, shirts, the book.
This is our other logo tee.
We
also have the RUN DTC shirt.
The RUN DTC shirt. And any of these books, to lead to that $150 to get that free hydro weight. Look at this old throwback. I made this like 4 years ago. We should update this. Check that out. Old Buys and Tries book. We never knew how to sell those books, so maybe one day we'll release those again and try and sell them. But Sam the Bean, I think what I for the Gaelic sport for hurling, I would say that's going to be similar to like lacrosse, how I would train lacrosse or even football to a point, like a running back in football. I would say for Sam's question, if we would have like a week of training, right? If you don't want to get sore, at least one day a week, you've got to push 2 to 3 sets close to failure on like a back squat or a bench, something like that, to help improve that muscular strength. And then I think the other 2 days, you could do an easier hypertrophy day. You could do another day of plyometric work, and you're going to train enough that you will get a positive response so that you are getting stronger without impeding on your actual sport. The other thing is that, there still should be a time of the year where you are focusing on improving your absolute strength and just doing like good off-season work. So there should be a point where you do want to focus on that. The Powerlastics are similar. They're larger than surgical tubes. So like they're actually straight rubber, Steve. So this is a lot more dense. I got a cup here. Thanks. This is like the strength band. You can sort of see here. Jason's bringing my coffee in. What a swell guy. That's how the inside of this looks. And then we get the knot in there. So the Powerlastics are pretty sweet. I like using those for wrestling a lot, Steve. They're really, really good for wrestling. Yes, J.A. Brad. As a law enforcement officer, how would you recommend training? Linebacker or something like that? I would say more like linebacker or wrestling. Linebacker, combat, jiu-jitsu, something along those lines. A little bit of max strength work, but also a decent amount of endurance, lots of pulls, stuff like that. For JA, that's how I would focus on it. Thoughts on using a safety squat bar for front squats? It's more comfortable, but so I like using, this is Rodolfo. I don't know if you've ever seen this on my Instagram, but I'll actually put the safety squat bar on this way, and I like the front squat like that. I really like that for actual like improving your front squats. In your opinion, does more plates equal more dates? I think that's a great question. Who didn't Jeff Nipper just do a video on that? I think he did, and I think the one thing that I would bring up is that for me, the dating life, when I was what? This is an important question. What was it? I mean, that was so long ago, right? For me, recovering from illness is big. It's making sure that you get tons and tons of sleep, liposomal vitamin C, get in sunlight, try to get in the sauna pretty regularly. That's going to help with that recovery from illness. As far as dating, right, if you're getting stronger, and I think that's one of the other factors is like when you get into resistance-based training, you start to have more confidence. So then when you start to have more confidence, you start to talk to people that you're interested in a little bit more because you're not judging yourself as much. I think there is also a point where you do become a little obsessed with how you look. So you sort of go through this just crazy cycle of like your confidence comes up, right? But then you really like how your image is, and you're just solely focused on like creating this image for yourself. And so I think over time, as you build that confidence and as you build your strength, whoever you would want to date they might see that work ethic. They might see the change in your body, and they might see that you have this goal and that you're motivated. And I think that's like a big factor behind dating is like, successful relationships comes back to like motivation, character traits, attractiveness, obviously. So I think that all that stuff, as you gain strength, as you get more hypertrophic, as long as you don't get too obsessed and egotistical where you're like, look at me, look at how big I am, and you're more about developing sort of like what's inside of you, which is also goes back to like our motto is cultivate your power, right? And if you can develop that and over time just constantly cultivate your power and who you are as an individual, the more confident you are as an individual, the more whoever you're interested in is probably going to be open to talking to you. And then all of a sudden, that cycle continues and you can actually start dating somebody. So does more plates equal more dates? I think there's probably a point of diminishing returns. It's probably like benching 315 for 5, back squatting 405 for reps. And that's probably where you're going to have to start to really focus more on your personality and your character traits than just more plates. What's your view on raw milk? We're coming out with a raw milk video, a whole bunch of raw milk videos. So that's from Retro Loot. We've been selling raw milk here at Garage Strength since 2008. Big fan of it. I've turned my 11-year-old nephew onto this channel. Should be starting lifting weights or stick to body weight exercises for training for basketball and baseball. I think at 11 years of age, it's perfectly fine that they start lifting weights. I think it's a great point of improvement. My son's 11, he lifts, and I think it's an awesome time for them to really challenge themselves mentally and to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. When you're an 11-year-old, you're still sort of like on that babyish side, and I think that's like a way to really try and improve that part of your overall personality, really, or of your athletic ability. Sorry. Is it possible to get stronger and faster while cutting as a boxer? Great question. Steve just came in. One of my lifters' goals is to qualify for weightlifting nationals just to meet me. Thank you, Steve. He can do it. I'm in his corner, and I'll make sure that we link up. It is possible to get stronger and faster while you cut weight, but you've got to play a very, very precise game. You've got to time your carbs around your training really well. And getting stronger and getting faster, think about it as it's going to be more neurologically focused. So more plyometrics, more heavier weight, less hypertrophy work while that weight cut is going on. Tori Modosu, how should I program a hypertrophy day in the conjugate method? Would I do it on? Yeah, you could do it on your dynamic day. You could do 10 sets of dynamic work and then hypertrophy work right after that dynamic day. Adam Kyler, also a huge fan of your work. Just by watching your throwing videos, I gained 8 feet on my throw in a season. I'm now throwing in college. That's awesome, Adam. That's great to hear. I think that's another thing. A lot of people that are on Garage Strength, that are here, don't know about Throws University, and they don't know about Peak Strength. So Peak Strength is an entire another channel that we have that we're going to start to put things, a little bit more niche-y things on there. Maybe things like can you cut weight and still be strong? But we're also going to do other crazy stuff on that Peak Strength channel. And then we have Throws University. Throws University is this channel entirely devoted to throwing, where we are solely focused on how do we get shot putters better, how do we get discus throwers better, because we have so many here on site to try and really improve. Kai, first of all, that's my sister's name. Second of all, when benching, squatting, or doing the single leg squat as a cornerback, should I be working on absolute strength, speed strength, or both? I would say both, but if I'm doing like back squat or single leg squat, okay, so for the first part, like right now in the off season, you should be doing like 6 sets of 5, 6 set, or even like 5 sets of 10 on each leg. You could do like 4 sets of 5, 2 sets of 9 back squat. And then when you do the high rep back squat, you can go unbroken. Okay, so that's how I would be focusing on gaining that absolute strength. That's what I would be focused on there, Kai. And then as you get closer to the season, you can transfer that to a little bit more speed strength. I would even recommend, that's like stuff that when we periodize everything in Peak Strength. So if you would buy Peak Strength, which we have a discount, it's 50% off this whole weekend. If you would get Peak Strength, Kai, okay, you could put in your peak date as like a combine, okay? So if you put it in as a combine, is that Aaron Gadsden? Aaron Gadsden is in the chat. One of the best jumps coach in the entire world. But if you would, Aaron, why'd you retract that message? Come on. If you would get Peak Strength, we would periodize everything for you to that peak date, and then you would work back, and we would have it set up for specific periods to focus on absolute strength, specific periods to focus on speed strength. And there is going to be a crossover period where you will focus on both. At Aaron, he might be a jerk. Jason, what did Aaron say?
He said he's been following you for months, but you only just followed him back. Does that make you a jerk?
Aaron, this is funny because when I would see Aaron's posts on Instagram, and I would follow him on Instagram and just watch how he's training, some of the best triple jumpers in the world. And then I realized I wasn't actually following him. I was just watching his posts. I'm like, why am I not following this dude? So, yeah, I mean, that's just me being an idiot, I would say. Sometimes on Instagram, I just don't pay attention to that stuff, and I should be. Steve asked the question, how can I get a 40-year-old female client to get motivated to show up and lift every day? Steve, that's a good question. I would say, Aaron, you got any questions around jumping? But I want to go into Steve, and this is a big thing, motivation, okay? 3 to 4 days a week. Jack Hines, we would have to do that on peak strength for hurling. We would have to do that on peak strength. Motivating people, I think, is tough because it's like, what's the motivation and what does that 40-year-old want out of their life? As hokey as that sounds, like you've got to think about like, where are they at in their life and what do they want to achieve? What kind of results do they want? Do they want to strength train? Do they want to compete? Do they want to lose weight? All those things are going to play a pretty big factor into that person's motivation. So I think focusing on what their motivation is and then using that, do they want to lose weight? Well, if you want to lose weight, we know that this is how frequently you need to train, and we know that this is what you have to do with your nutrition, and then lay that out as explicitly as possible. Using Aaron as an example, he knows, he's had a triple jumper place 5th at the Olympics. Aaron Gadsden, who's in the chat here. Maybe it was 6th. Aaron, you can comment on that. But he knows to get somebody to be top 5 in the world, okay, they have to train 5 or 6 days a week. They have to make sure that their nutrition is on point. They have to make sure their sleep is prioritized. All this stuff is laid out. And that's communicated. 5th at the World Championships, okay? So all that stuff is communicated to his athletes. And he tells them, look, if you want to do this, this is what has to happen. And I think for us, we do that here. If you want to be one of the best in the world, this is what you need to do. And so to answer Steve's question, you have to communicate that to anybody that you're working with so that they understand, like, if they're not meeting that expectation, they're not going to be successful. That's how I would look at it. So will training, this is Zysam, will training for performance athletics make me look better, okay? Will this make me look better than a bodybuilder? I think so, because look at sprinters and some football players, they're freaking jacked as hell. So yeah, I would say so. What's a realistic amount of muscle a high school athlete can gain in the off season? I'd say 10 to 12 pounds of muscle, maybe even a little bit more, but just straight muscle. You're still going to gain a little bit of fat, but you can get really, really yoked in a year as a high schooler. Going back to that motivation stuff, it's like it always comes, what ingredients in pre-workout would you take out so you can make your own? I already have my own. It's called Stampede. Look up Stampede on earthfedmuscle.com. We already have that, Elijah. earthfedmuscle.com. I think going back to that motivation stuff, it's like, why? It's such an interesting conversation because it's like, I don't think it's as easy as like, well, if you're not motivated, like you don't respect life. I don't think it's that easy. I think it's more of like, we have opportunities, right? And we have opportunities to achieve things. And so I think the older I get, the more I realize like you might not have another opportunity. You might not have certain things happen and line up perfectly. So with motivation, it's like we have Jake and Haley. They're going to the World Championships here in the next 2 weeks. Next week, actually, next Friday I leave. And it's like one of the big problems there is like they might not ever get back to a world championship. Like, it's not easy to go to worlds. It's not simple. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of time, a lot of commitment, a lot of sacrifice. But the path to get there is really enjoyable when you look back on it. And I think that that's something that you've got to think about in motivation is like, you know, I'll actually use these books as an example, okay? So all of these books, right? Buys and tries. This was an idea in my head, okay? This idea was in my head. And it was like, all right, I want this to be a book. I don't know why I did, but I thought it'd be fun to write like a buys and tries book just on arms, like, right? Just how to get bigger arms. It's fun. It's fun. And I knew that I had to get to this point. I'd have to work backwards. And so I knew I have to write multiple times a week. I knew I would have to write down my ideas, take pictures, lay it out, pay someone to help me lay it out, pay someone to help take pictures. Same with this. This is Sam. He's he's an Olympian. He's on the cover here. But it's like all of these books existed in my head before they became actual physical books. Okay, so I had to pitch this to a publisher, to Greg Everett, and say, I want to write a book about weightlifting and how I use it for sports performance. Because we have a lot of great results with guys in the NFL, track athletes, swimmers, wrestlers, and they're all inside of this, right? But I want to teach people how I use it. And so the motivation was more about that end product, but also just that daily path. For me to get to that point, it's like I had to have this stuff exist mentally, but then I had to have the habits to get it to come out. So it's like motivating people is about like taking those opportunities, and it's like if I have an opportunity to write a book, well, I want to put as much knowledge out there to help you guys as I possibly can, so that you in turn can become better athletes. And that's an opportunity that I want to take advantage of. And I think that's the same way I look at training. That's the same way I look at as, life in general is like every single day is an opportunity to get better, to have a better, to have a better experience on that day-to-day basis, which in turn leads to, I think, you're cultivating that power a little bit more. And then that builds up that positive energy that you can sort of just put out into the world. That's really what we're all doing. That's really it. Rob Roberts. I heard the difference between gold and bronze is like less than 1%. So the level of commitment has to be absolutely crazy. Yes, for sure. Not only absolutely crazy, but the level of intensity in the competition. Being at the Olympics and feeling how intense it is amongst the athletes, like even in the warm-up area. The warm-up area is so absurdly intense. And then like the life when you're in the village, it's so intense. And that's another example where it's like, I might never be able to make it back to the Olympics. I don't know. But if I've been there once, I want to get back there. I want to experience it again. I want to have that opportunity. I need to do that. It was so fun. It's so enjoyable. But I've got to do all the right things. I've got to train people as well as I possibly can. I've got to experience things, and all of this knowledge that I have in here needs to keep improving. So there's going to be more editions of these books because I'm constantly trying to get better so I can get back to the Olympics, so I can get guys to the NFL, so I can get more guys to the college level, so I can get more people to world championships because that's what I love to do. And so that's where the motivation has to come back to. It's like, what the heck do you guys want in life? What the heck do you want as a person, and what do you want to achieve? And it's really like you have to embody that with every single decision that you're making, and review it. Adam, I want to break my school's record for shot put by the time I graduate. I'm a freshman now, and I'm about 20 feet away. What do I need to do to reach this? This is a great freaking question. Okay, you got to lift. You got to work on technique. You got to gain muscle mass, okay? You got to gain size, and you also have to improve like special strength movements. But I would say if you want to do this, Adam, you got to lift 4 days a week, okay? You got to throw 5 days a week, and you have to have a technical model. How do you want to move in the circle? And you have to do it every single week. You can't whine, you can whine and complain, but you've got to hold yourself accountable to show up. The more you show up, the better the odds are. Every single day that you show up, those odds improve of you improving to that 20 feet to break the school record. Johnny, Recently fractured his middle finger. How can I stay on track with gains without furthering injury? I would do focusing on back squats, focusing on pulls, doing things that things along. I'm reading Aaron's comment here. Things along those lines. To you can do a lot of walking lunges. You don't have to use your hand to improve your strength, so your leg strength. So I would say just focus on exercises like back squats to improve that for the time being. So Aaron's asking me, when are we going to get force plates? And I had a conversation with him at the Diamond League final about force plates. I want to get them so bad, and we sort of got them nixed by my wife because of the cost. I got to make more money, really. We don't have a program for sprint triathletes right now. We do not have. I would get Peak Strength though, because we have programming inside of Peak Strength for triathlon. So Aaron, I want to get force plates sooner rather than later. Whether or not I would get them in the next 6 months, I don't know. I think that remains to be seen. I was talking to somebody about this on Wednesday, actually, about if somebody else would want to invest in these force plates, and then we would train their kid on them. Sort of like a backdoor way to get the force plates. My squat feels unbalanced coming out of the bottom position of the squat. Anything I can do to fix that? Aaron, do you use force plates? Didn't want to answer that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's funny. Let me know, Aaron, if you're using them. Vinny, what I would do is I would do pause back squats or double bounce squats at the bottom. Do a pause, drive up, double bounce, drive up, and that's going to help improve that out of the bottom position. Rob, force plates would show me, okay, so if I would like drop and jump off of something or do like a clean, the force plate measures how much energy is being applied into the ground. So how much energy is going into the ground to execute this movement. So this could be a behind the neck jerk. It could be a depth drop into a bound. It could be a vertical jump. It could be a power clean, a power snatch, a squat. However much force I'm putting into the ground would be the that feedback would come from the force plate. Andrew White, which type of squat good for a sprinter? Half squat or full squat? I would say full squat for 6 to 8 months out of the year. Half squats for peaks and some speed stuff. Andrew White, I want to break my personal best 100 meters and 200 meter dash times before I graduate. Where do I start, or what would I do to get better? I would say focus on your speed out of the blocks, improving the first 5 to 7 steps is key to the 100 meters. The better those are, the better the rest of the sprint becomes. Improve your technique. But if you have faster reaction times out of the blocks and you have better position coming out of the blocks, well, that's going to transfer to you're going to achieve peak speed earlier, and ideally, if you have good technique, you can hold that longer. So I think that's like a big factor behind improving that 100 meters and 200 meters, and also just running more, do more sprint work, run hill sprints, run consistent 200 meters and stuff like that. That's the best. Single leg squat, obviously, always single leg squat's the answer with that. All right, so where are we? I'm trying to look at. We're almost at an hour here. Almost at an hour. Trying to look at. I'm going back over some of these deals. Aaron, I don't own any, but I have access to a plate at the gym right next to mine that I can use anytime. I want to do some testing to start building some plyo benchmarking. Do you know what type of force plate the gym next to you has? What brand it is? Because I think that's another thing. So I wanted to see, Aaron, I wanted to talk to you about this actually, is one of the universities had reached out to us about bringing our throwers out for testing sometime in January or February and doing force plate testing. So that's another thought that I've had, is like if we went to a lab and actually got tested, I think that would be pretty cool. Matthew, I'm 42. I used to wrestle in college and in 20s powerlifted. Last 10 years, I let myself go. 2 blood clots in his lungs, he almost died. Now I'm the weakest I've been since I'm 12. I would look at this, Matthew, as, all right, Hawkins. What's the best way to regain my strength when starting from so low? So, Matthew, you got to look at it like twice a week for plyometrics is good depending upon your goals. But for Matthew, I think you've got to really focus on just developing and building up over a long period of time. What's the first step? Go out for a walk. Go walk for 30 minutes. Do 30 minutes of body weight training. And you can just set that up and just slowly chip away at those goals. Don't overwhelm yourself with, I need to, max out all this stuff. And if I don't, I'm a bad person. Don't do that. There's no point in doing it. It's just slowly building into it. Vasu, my 8-year-old son can do seated box jumps or seated jumps into a plyo soft box higher than he can do standing jumps. I think it would depend on the depth of where he's seated. I think that to answer that question, that's not normal because you would have that counter movement. Now, the only thing is because your son is younger, he's 8 years old, so he might be lacking that counter movement strength currently, but over time, he will improve that, and that's going to go to the wayside. So I would say maybe we just focus on those standing jumps in the time being and trying to train him with those counter movements so that he can start to learn how to absorb that energy and absorb that force. So I have Trevor Stutzman next to me. So Trevor is, I would say, our designer, our high school throws coach, our on-site 3-time All-American, Division 3 All-American, and Hawkins dynamic. But you also have vault. I wanted to write that down, Aaron.
Dane, real quick, just make sure you push your computer back a little bit. It'll open up the frame wider.
And I was just writing that down, Aaron. What's up, Deepanshu, shot put thrower? How are you doing? So Trevor is here to just sort of tag in and talk a little bit. He's coached Javen Williams, who's thrown 66 feet in high school. Maria Diavez, who's one of the best collegiate shot putters in the world right now, or one of the best throwers in the NCAA. He himself, like I mentioned, was an NCAA Division 3 All-American 3 times. But he also does some of the website design, and he actually played probably the most important role in developing peak strength. So, Trevor, welcome to the chat.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
Do you want to answer any of these questions? How can I get more output from plyos before heavy lifting or after heavy lifts?
More output from plyos.
I think they're asking if they should do it before or after.
I mean, I would say you could probably warm up with some light plyos, but then probably, it depends what you want to focus on. Like, a lot of people, the strength gains are more important, and the plyos are kind of just to, kind of develop that, speed and jumping ability. We usually put it towards the end of our training, or as like a, contrast training with like squats. But then we also have, our athlete day. So basically a day solely focused on plyometrics. So I feel like, you can both pair it with your strength training to kind of get the best of both worlds, but then also with that athlete day, solely focusing on plyos, on speed work, on, jump training and those drills to kind of just hone in, on your explosive work. But
how about this one? I like this one question. It was, can you develop endurance and not lose your strength?
Yes.
How would you do that?
Get on peak strength.
Oh yeah.
Get on one of the endurance sports, cycling, running. But anyways, I mean functionally, like, how do you actually do that? I mean I think first of all, like, I feel like a lot of people don't, they're endurance athletes, or they want to switch to doing more cardio, but they're not actually strength training at like, a decent frequency during the week, or like actually, putting in a fair amount of work. It's like, if you want to get stronger, you got to strength train. If you want to improve your endurance, work on your endurance. You can do both at the same time.
Yeah.
And, will you see small, like, slight detriments to either one? Maybe, but I feel like if you keep up the the frequency for each, you're going to keep developing each.
Yeah. Yeah, there's obviously going to be a point of you might not break world records in
Right,
both,
yeah.
but like,
It depends what your goals are.
yeah, that's the whole thing I would say is looking through the lens of what are your goals? How is it, do you want to deadlift 405 pounds? Well, you can deadlift 405 pounds and still run a sub 5 minute mile, I think. I know it's crazy, but like, I think you could do it.
Yeah.
Now, you might also just be like, I just want to run for fun, Well, if you just want to run for fun and enjoy it, like you can get really strong and still go run or still do cycling or whatever it is that you want to focus on.
Right.
I think you can, you can definitely balance that well.
Yeah. Also, if anyone has questions on the app, like this is your chance. Like I've put in, I've developed a lot of it and, I know it through and through. So if you have any questions you want to ask on the app, like, you can shoot away.
Okay, so this is a good question for me. This guy's asking what our WhatsApp number is. What would I want to come into the app, okay? I started running recently. I want to just pick up like a lifting program specifically for distance running. How would I go about doing that? If I bought Peak Strength.
Right. So how the app works is you'll download it. When you come in, the first thing you'll come across is a questionnaire. So there's about maybe 10 or 12 questions in the questionnaire. And one of those questions is what sport you play. So right now the app is geared towards sports performance. We are in the future going to be expanding that to different kind of fitness modalities and different whether it's like bodybuilding, weightlifting specific,
Cross country.
more general fitness, yeah. But as a sport, like if you're or if you're just casually running, like you can still use the app right now if you're still
Jay, thank you. Boom.
a casual lifter. But to answer your question, what I would do is go in and when it comes to what sport do you play, select cross country or marathon, and basically, yeah, the app will, we have it set up in the app that based on what you programmed for that sport, it's going to turn out a program for you for your specific needs. So whatever equipment you have, what experience level you are, your age, your weight, even it'll make adjustments to the exercises and the weight you input and run you through that program.
What's the discount that we're running this weekend?
So we have 50% off your first month or first year. So if you go to peakstrength.app and go through the process, there's just one or two steps that you can create an account and download the app, and it's 50% off. So we're probably never going to do this again at this high of a discount. So if you really want to try it out, which I think you should, and try it out for a month, like try it out, see what gains you make, see how the app works. It's really intuitive. It's easy to use. We've got lots of good feedback on just the UI and how easy it is to go through. So check it out. It doesn't take long to figure out and understand and start training and, just see how it does for you, and try it out.
I wanted you to answer Rohan's question about can you reach the athletic level? I know this is off the app discussion. Sorry, Trevor.
That's fine.
Can you reach full athletic level on a vegetarian diet?
No. It's my opinion. I mean, I think if you're looking at like maxing out 100%, absolute 100%, I don't think so. I mean, I think like why not have all the if you're going to hit 100%, you should have all the tools at your disposal.
Yeah.
And, meat being one of those tools. Can you hit 99%? Probably.
Yeah.
But if you're shooting for 100%, like, you got to use all the tools.
Would you rather be vegetarian or keto?
Vegetarian.
Yeah, same. So, Shoe Views just retracted a message, but he had said something about his son. I don't know what it was, but his son was using the Peak Strength app. I wanted to touch on DeMarcus there. So DeMarcus is saying he's a nose tackle and sometimes a defensive end. So he's a D lineman. Okay, he's in 8th grade, and he's asking. He's somewhat undersized at 5'6", 140 pounds. How much should I look to bulk? I think for you try to get to like 170, 175, and because you're in 8th grade, you might actually grow quite a bit this summer. But I always think like try to start lifting 4 to 5 days a week. Make sure you're getting plenty of sleep, and you might see that you might grow a little bit, right? And that will in turn lead to helping you bulk. Consensual love with your mom, who apparently has the best name in the Discord, according to his statement there. What was your original dream for Garage Strength? Is what you have now what you thought it would be? My original dream for Garage Strength, and that's a really good question. So my original dream, and Trevor probably would he was around when I started Garage Strength. He was one of the first.
2009.
Yeah, he was one of the first people I ever trained. Trevor was, and so. I'll answer that after we answer shoe views. With Peak Strength app, my son does football, wrestling, and track. Should he change the app's sport selection per sport and when, or keep it on one sport like football?
That's an amazing question. So a lot of people are in the same kind of, a lot of people do multiple sports. What I would suggest is if you're training, basically train for whatever sport is coming up next. So whatever like championship you have coming up next. So probably at this point in time, it's wrestling. So I would set your peak date for like whatever wrestling competition you see as your biggest of the year. I would set the peak date for that, do the training up towards that date. Once you pass that date, then it's like, okay, wrestling's over. And then when you finish the program, you're going to be prompted to basically enter a new date. So then I would set, your biggest competition for track. And then it'll calculate backwards from there to, today or the day you're at, and you can run through the program for track. Once you're done with track and hit that peak date, then you'll be prompted again and put in football. Put in, maybe it's around this time, end of October, November for football. And then, it'll be like, might be 6 months at a time of a program that you'll train through gearing up for football.
And that's really how we would train somebody on site. I think that's the whole takeaway with Peak Strength is it's legitimately like taking Garage Strength and putting it in your pocket. So like I could show you like this is my current program here. So I can go to my program. I don't want to build a new program because I actually like what I'm doing. But I can show you, this is how it's laid out. But even if I go back across the top, let me go back here. You can see here I have like my peak date is March 19th, my birthday. Okay, so March 19th is my peak. This is going to help me lead to, a strength training peak with distance running on my birthday. And so what Shoe Views just asked is literally, that's how we would train somebody here at the gym. So, this is going to give me about 4 months of a program leading into a peak. That's what we do here with the wrestlers is right now they're in season. So that's what we're building towards. We're building towards them 2 to 3 days a week coming in and getting crushed and trying to improve throughout the season. Same thing, then once they get into the track season and then over the summertime, it's going to be hard into that football development and that peak being, like Trevor had mentioned, the end of October and November. So I think that's the best way to sort of define our training system at Garage Strength and what we do here on site with over 200 different athletes. And I think that's the other thing that I like to put out there is that we do this, like we actually work with athletes all the time. And I think a lot of people sort of forget, they might look at it and be like, oh, we're YouTubers, but it's really like we're sports performance coaches who just happen to have a YouTube channel, and all of the work and all the knowledge that we do is all this stuff, all this knowledge here is all rooted in our experience in the gym and what we're doing with it. So the knowledge in Peak Strength and the programming in Peak Strength is real, actual, practical information that we've developed over the last 14 years, really. So to go back to consensual love with your mom.
I like that question, though.
Which one?
That one,
Yeah.
your dream.
Yeah. That is. Ooh, here's another one. Do you know how Dr. B integrated his system with sprinters? What effect does power cleans and hand cleans have on my progress in soccer? Let me answer this question first, though. My initial dream for Garage Strength was I wanted to have like a full-blown training facility for elite level athletes. So for world-class shot putters, discus throwers, wrestlers, everything, everything you could think of. And I wanted it to be on a farm. I wanted to have animals like outside that were grazing and raising chickens and stuff, and selling eggs, selling raw milk, doing all that stuff, while also doing the actual physical training side. And then so that was my initial.
This could have almost been called farm strength instead of
Yeah,
garage strength.
exactly. It would have been called farm strength, basically. So that was my initial plan, and by the time we moved into the barn, so we actually trained in the barn from 2011 until 2017. So we had 6 years where we were actually inside of a barn. When we were in the barn, we had chickens, pigs, ducks, stuff like that. We did all of that stuff, and we would sell eggs on site. We would sell raw milk, which we still sell raw milk here. Then as we moved to this location, which is in basically like a giant warehouse, maybe not a giant warehouse, but a decent sized warehouse, more of a garage. We got a little bit away from the actual farming side, and I have a couple little like side ventures at my house, depending on the time of year. I'll have, or the actual year. Some years I do have pigs at my house, but I'd say the part of where we're at right now is like training world-class throwers and training world-class weightlifters and training world-class football players and in those different sports, swimming, stuff like that. That part has come to fruition, and I think that that's going to continue to grow. And I think that that's a main thing that Trevor and I just had a meeting the other day was my whole lens, everything that I am working towards is constantly being viewed towards how many Olympians can I develop, how many professional athletes can I develop. And that's all of the decision-making process. It comes back to, is this going to push the needle so that I have more Olympians or I have more NFL athletes or whatever, world championship caliber athletes? Mainly because that's what I like to do. I think that's what our brand is. And in so doing, it's like if we can develop something like Peak Strength, well now, with Peak Strength developing, we can reach you guys. You guys in turn can be out wherever you're at, wherever you're 14, 15, 16, maybe you're 25, maybe you're 35, but you're doing these training programs and you're inside of our ecosystem, like I like to say. And then if you get to the point where you want to become, you want to move on site and train with us on site, you can reach out to us and we get to that point where we can get you to the Olympics or get you to world championships. And that's sort of how we see it playing out, and that's where the reach of the YouTube channel comes into play. That's where the books comes into play, is helping you guys achieve that stuff so that we can just sort of feed this performance loop over and over again. And Justin actually asked a good question here. At what age do you recommend female athletes start training? I think female athletes can start training at 8, 9, 10 years old. I think 10 to 12 is probably like the sweet spot for when they could start to resistance-based train.
What flavor?
Anything but the Coke. I don't want any caffeine. Please.
Trevor, do you want anything?
Jason's getting us something to eat. So, do we do any modified strongman training? Not really, actually. That's not... no. James actually just asked, so, Trevor, can his 13 and 10-year-old boys, can they start Peak Strength for wrestling?
Yeah, absolutely.
What would you recommend they do?
I mean, I would just put in your birthday, which is going to calculate your age, and select wrestling. And probably I would select beginner for as your experience level. And it's basically going to start a progression for them, which will help them learn the clean, help them learn the snatch, keep the weights light, and you can work with them to help them kind of answer the questions after each exercise, after each set. You don't need to push the weight heavy. It's fine if you answer every question as like moderate, and just go through the program. And absolutely, you can start start training, you can start lifting at that age, and just get into it. And I think the app does provide a really good structured, just almost, it gamifies it a little bit to make it a little bit more fun, even for, younger kids to try. Like Dane, you could talk about your son, Lincoln.
To answer that, James, so my son's 11, and one of the things that Trevor coaches him mainly in the throws, but one of the things that we've struggled with is sometimes Lincoln and I might get into little arguing matches while we're lifting because I might want him to do something and he doesn't want to do it. And I think what that, the gamification is essentially what it does now is he looks at it as he can do this app, and we teach him, we instruct him, and we coach him, but he's the one who's in the interface. Like he's telling the app how hard this lift was. He's doing the weights that it says, and he's owning it more so. So for me, it's pretty cool because he looks at it as it's like a third party that he doesn't have to work through me. And that's where I think with your kids, it might actually be really beneficial for your own relationship with your children, is that your kids will want to do this app and you can be there more as a support system and more just watching what they're doing and maybe pushing them a little bit here and there. But it is more fun that way because then you have more of a hands-off. Like being a dad and coaching them is pretty hard, and it gets to be pretty frustrating at points. So I really, really do recommend doing that. I did want to answer. Vico said, do you use cluster sets with throwers? We just released a cluster set video where we actually talked about how I used it with Sam Mattis. So yes, to answer that question, for sure. Gruesome Shadow, if my hips shoot up when first lifting off the floor for deadlifts, does that mean that my quads are weak? It does, yes, but it's also, thank you. It's also, that's a tough question because it's such a posterior chain focused lift. It's okay if your hips shoot up a little bit, okay, just a little bit. I recommend if you're doing a clean or a snatch and you tend to come up, drive your chest up a little more. Drive that chest up's a cue I would use. Terry O commented that they put a garage strength sticker here.
Nice.
Terry O commented, Naimai Delgado and Robert Cheek are both examples of successful vegan athletes. Yeah, nobody said that you can't be successful. I do believe you can be successful as a vegan athlete or as a vegetarian athlete. Does it mean that to the absolute 100%? Maybe not. There's probably room for debate, but you can definitely be successful. Here's 2 questions for Trevor. 3 questions for Trevor. Mm-hmm. Would you ever consider doing throwing camps nationwide? How many profiles can we have on peak strength? And does a channel or the app have an endurance training pack?
Yeah, well, first question, maybe for throwing camps.
Maybe.
Our schedules are pretty full because we not only do Throws University, but both me and Dane are also heavily involved in garage strength, obviously. So we have a lot of things on our plate, but that's something that, yeah, I mean, we're not against anything like that. It'd just be a matter of setting it up. How many profiles can you have on the app per account? Just one. It's one thing we've considered to add in the future, and you guys can comment if this is something you would like, is setting up different gym profiles. So like, if you have like your school gym and then the weights you have at home or something, being able to kind of switch back and forth between those 2 setups. We don't have it that you can have multiple users on the same subscription. If the app is meant to be on an individual basis for right now.
That's where Steve asked.
Yeah, so in the future, it's possible we're going to have ways to have basically like team setup. And I mean, that is something we're planning on doing is making it so that you can set up training as a team, and there'd be a discounted rate for that. And probably with that, we'd have stuff for families as well to make it more affordable. But as of now, we just have the individual option. And an endurance training pack. So right now, the app is solely strength training. Now we have, like we were saying earlier, you can select cross-country, marathon running, soccer, and you'll have an endurance-based strength program. But we don't currently have conditioning in the app per se, like, running, biking, stuff like that. But it is something that we will be adding in the future.
But the training is geared towards endurance-based training.
Right. So it's going to help you at those specific endurance tasks like running and biking by getting you stronger for them.
And if you notice, Steve just commented, he said, this way I can be a dad and husband instead of the coach. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think I was just reading Daniel the Great. Okay. I think that's a really good question though around peak strength. And it's like, what do you think, Trevor, when would be the next updates that we're going to have for peak strength?
Well, we're coming out with one update in the beginning of January that's going to have a number of more like quality of life things. Like there aren't very many big features coming out, but it's things that we've had feedback on that we're going to address. Some with like navigating through the weeks and kind of you'll be able to enter 1 rep maxes for every exercise if you go into them, which should help kind of smooth out some of the weight suggestions. The weight suggestions will also still kind of adapt as you lift, but you can also enter them one at a time. But kind of looking beyond that, we're going to have, probably every couple months we're going to be coming out with an update, and we basically right off the bat we want to start adding new features. So like we were saying, like eventually kind of like a big update we're going to have eventually is adding the ability to to have a team on the app, and adding features like adding conditioning, adding speed work, outside of the just strength program. You'll be able to have some extras that you can do in addition. And a lot of other things and that's stuff where we want to hear your feedback too. So whether you want to do it in the chat, you can email us, you can, DM us, whatever, like give us ideas that you would want to see in the app and we're going to consider them. We've taken every single piece of feedback we've gotten so far in the app and we're thinking them through and we're trying to find out how we can make it a tool that, you guys want to use. So, your feedback is invaluable.
You want to answer Vasu?
Let's see. Yeah, we don't have BMX in there. I would select sprint cycling probably as the best option. I believe it's a sub. If you click on cycling, then you can select sprint cycling. That'd be the best option for that.
Danny Estrada is asking if he wants to improve his snatch and clean and front squat and back squat. Can the app do it?
Yes. That's one of the big, that's what it's for. It's for improving those lifts. So.
Tom Riddle, that's a good question.
Yeah, so right now the app is geared towards sports performance. One of the first major updates we're going to make is adding Olympic weightlifting. So we wanted to keep the app simple in the beginning, just to make sure we could do things right from the get-go, and so we decided to only include sports performance, with the idea that very soon after we'd be releasing weightlifting. And we don't just want to throw weightlifting out there, like we want to do it right. So we're going to spend a little bit of time on just developing it and making Olympic weightlifting the absolute best it can be, so that when you guys get in, it's tailored specifically towards weightlifter and not kind of like a sideshow on sports performance.
Yeah, and I think that's like I think that's a really good question, because it is such a heavily, ironically, I do think you can be a weightlifter and you could get into like throwing or something, and you would probably actually improve your weightlifting performance,
right,
because there's so much strength stuff involved. But we do want to do it as well as we possibly can. And I also wanted to point out, like, we're running the deal right now where if you spend $150 on the website, you get a free hydro weight. So I'm going to pull this in, okay? So you get a free hydro weight, or you can pick some shirts. Now, the reason why I'm saying that is because the whole thing around peak strength is that it's essentially taking, what we did with our periodization model, okay? how we use weightlifting and sports performance, and how we use, the layout of sports performance. In the sports performance Bible, we basically lay out and we sort of teach you how we go about designing a program here. And then the exercises you would specifically use would be from this book. And then this is essentially like the root of Peak Strength, the actual app. So you can actually buy all of these books. If you spend $150, you can get a free hydro weight. You can buy the Powerlastics. Okay, you can get these straps as well. Spend $150, you get the free hydro weight, but then you're also getting all of this knowledge from the last 14 years of training, and all of that stuff is how we laid out Peak Strength. So it's also going to help you understand and comprehend what you're doing. And John Calness is tuning in here. What's up, John? How are you doing? It's good to see you in here. When would you schedule your peak for track? So week before states or week of? I would actually schedule it for the week of states, Justin. That's how I would set up for that peak. Really set that up just to hit that big monster throw there at states. Steve's commenting he has all three, and yes, a family package would be great. He has 2 kids, and I don't let them use smartphone yet, which mean they would need. Yeah, I mean you could Vasu, you could in theory use it on like an iPad. I think I have had Lincoln use because Lincoln doesn't have an iPhone. He doesn't have a phone, so he has used it on an iPad. Tom Riddle is commenting. He knows how to make programs. He needs a coach and team to travel with. There are different options as to message you. Just curious. I was going to try and take advantage of the year and pledge that. So Tom, yeah, you could just DM us. You could email us support@garagestrength.com about training with us and all that stuff online. Julius, he wants to know how to strengthen glutes and reduce fat in the upper glute area. Reducing fat in the upper glute area would be a different issue behind actually training them. You would have to address some of your nutritional habits and stuff along those lines. I don't really believe you can spot reduce per se fat, but he's saying how can he get faster and then help help with playing as a football wide receiver. I would say single leg squats are going to target the glutes tremendously. Back squats targets the glutes tremendously, and barbell step-ups also target the glutes tremendously. And this actually brings up something, Trevor. This is something that when we had our meeting around, Trevor and I meet and discuss how we can develop the app long term. One of the things that I was even thinking about is like if somebody gets into Peak Strength, I think it would be cool in the future that they could go in and be like, I have weak glutes. And that's part of it's like tipping the program to be a little bit more glute specific. Or I have weak hamstrings. Or I have a weak back. Because we had somebody comment about their deadlift.
Ideally, and was actually just working on theorizing some of this stuff out, that it would automatically determine that for you.
It would figure.
So you could say certain stuff, but it'd also be based off of the weights that you've entered, that it could, it would be able to be oh, we recognize your glutes are weak, or your certain exercises are weak.
Maybe somebody has a huge front squat, but then their single leg squat's pathetic, and it's we're seeing that when you do single leg squats, it's either your stability or you're not recruiting really well in your posterior chain versus your front squats.
Right.
Yeah. So I think that's the other thing is when we're laying out programs. If I'm writing a program here, I'm thinking through all right, with Haley, this is what I see, or with Sam or whoever it is, this is what I see in their movement pattern, and then I'm laying it out that way, and it's I think that's a big factor with what we're trying to do with Peak Strength is that every single aspect, and we talked about this on, is that Monday or Tuesday?
I forget.
Yeah. Around programming. We want to eventually have inside of the app. So that's where I think it's like looking at it as this living, breathing thing that is going to constantly be upgraded, updated, and improved upon. And that's where it's cool too. It's a book for us to write version 2 of parabolic periodization, which we're going to do.
Right.
It's going to take a while to do that. Whereas with the app, we can constantly be modifying it. Every 4 to 6 weeks, we can put in a new upgrade.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's a cool thing too. Is that for for a fitness app, the sky's the limit for what it could become. You know, there's so much, and
I'm gonna go to the bathroom.
yeah, go for it. And I think one thing that's really cool right now, especially for all you guys who are in it right now, is you're in it at literally the base level. So it's like, you know, we have, you know, this is the first. The app's been out for about 2 months now. So, you know, you guys are experiencing it at its absolute base level. And where it can go from here, you know, that's what we want your input on. And our hope is that, like, you know, 1, 2, 5 years from now, you guys are in it, you know, can look back and it's like, I can't believe that's where it was, you know, so many years ago. And yeah, just like Dane was saying, like, we're going to be implementing new features constantly. We want to hear from you what features we should add. Again, some things like that we're, you know, going to be implementing are like conditioning, speed work, extra bodybuilding work at the end of a workout. We're going to add for teams, and just like we've had some, you know, requests here, being able to implement, you know, family plans and everything. That's stuff you can look forward in the future. Let's see, to answer Hayden's question, we do have lacrosse in the app. So if you go in, again, how the app opens up, you download the app, get in, you're going to have to make an account, and then you're going to go through a short questionnaire. One of those questions is to put in what sport you play, and we have lacrosse as an option. So I would definitely recommend going in and getting started with the lacrosse program. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, with Eris, with soccer, yeah, it's a heavy cardio sport. I mean, we have soccer as, you know, as an option in the app, and you know, it can supplement. The cool thing, like, you can just put in 2 days as for your soccer program, and you can use it to complement the cardio work you're also putting in the side. And yeah, again, if you have any other last questions on the app, I'm going to be trading off with Jason, our video guy, soon. Again, we have a 50% off deal that's going the whole weekend through Tuesday. Get 50% off your first month or first year. This is probably
peakstrength.app.
Peakstrength.app, yeah. And this
or
is
Google Play or Apple
or the
Store.
App Store, yeah. But yeah, I would take advantage of it because we're probably not going to do it again. So,
especially, I think too, it's like, I think the cool part is, like, you guys are, they're like they'll be in the training, and it's also like contributing to the whole process of how it grows. I think that's like one of the really cool parts too. Maybe Peak Strength app users can send in clips of their workout. Yes, for sure.
That will be coming at some point.
I think so. Vasu, that's a big question there, or comment, is like, one of the things we want to do is be able to have a part of the app that has technique and videos in it that we can actually, like, comment and provide feedbacks, and even to a point where we want to develop it so it has a leaderboard. It's even more engaging, and comments like that, I think, are exactly where we're going to be going with it, and that's where it's like being a part of that growth and seeing what is going to happen is what's going to make this whole thing so cool.
Yeah, and also, if you have any other suggestions too, we have a Discord channel. If you're not on our Discord, look us up. And there's a channel specifically for Peak Strength, the app, and suggestions for features you'd like to see. So if you didn't get a chance to ask to, you know, suggest a feature, you can absolutely do it there.
Okay, I want to answer Rick Grimes. So actually, Trevor's heading out. Jason's going to come in, YouTube master. Rick Grimes, why did you say ego lifting is what you do when you low bar squat? This is a great question. I think ego lifting, I guess low bar to me, because it's so weight related, maybe it's not fair for me to say that, Rick. But I look at ego lifting as like, I just want to have as much weight as possible on the bar. And I think that high bar back squatting is better for 95% of goals relative to, compared to low bar. Now, if I have somebody who is a power lifter or somebody who just wants to max out their back squat, the fastest way to improve somebody's back squat is to teach them how to low bar because they can do more weight. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to have the best transfer to other goals in other realms of sports performance. So that would be my defense. I don't know if it's extremely fair for me to say that, though, other than I might have been saying that just to trigger everyone so we could get a big discussion around low bar back squatting. Phil Yu said, saw an Instagram post about driving in the jerk before activating your arms in a split or power jerk. Does this also apply to squat? And how can I get down faster in a squat jerk? Also, I thought you weren't doing these Q&As anymore. Psyched to see this, that you're still doing it. So as far as the Q&As, we have our private Q&As 3 times a month, and that's going to be, that's our membership channel, and you guys can join for $10 a month. And then we do one of these public lives once a month. As far as driving in the jerk, for sure, drive long, get under it. I would say it can apply to your squat if you just think drive as hard as you can out of the bottom. And then how to get down faster in a squat jerk, it would be like training with like a snatch balance. I would train with snatch balance or like a hip snatch or even like some of that stuff actually will carry over to a squat jerk. Even like a high hang into the catch. So, gosh, some of your comments are ridiculous. So we brought in Jason here. He is the master of, we did do a video on how to boost testosterone. Jason is a master of YouTube. He's the driving force behind the channel. He does all the video, almost all entire video editing. What else do you do, Jason? Tell everybody who you are.
How's it going, everybody? It's a bit different being on the other side of the camera. So as Dane was kind of going through, I pretty much run the back end of the YouTube channel. Him and I collaborate a lot on the ideas that we make videos about. I pretty much film almost every single video that we've done over the last 2.5 years. I edit most of them. I'm like the lead project manager on the videos that we end up producing, from idea to finally going out on YouTube and stuff like that. So a lot of even the live streams, I help out with Dane. You're always going to see me comment in the background. Dane's probably usually yelling for me during these things,
Yes.
just trying to make sure that things aren't on being destroyed right now. Yeah, hey, Clink. There you go. We're not sponsored by Zevia, by the way, hence the stickers. But pretty much I thought I could come on here and any questions you guys have about the YouTube channel, how it is right now, any ideas for YouTube videos that we're going to be producing in the next few months, what you can expect in the future. We have some really cool videos coming out that I'm really excited for in the next few weeks. I think Dane previously mentioned we're coming out with the raw milk video. That's going to be really fun. And I figured just, any questions you guys had about, videos and just, what we're doing moving forward, I think, this is the perfect time to ask, and it should be a fun time.
I'll answer some of these questions around training, and then if somebody chimes in for you, we'll go.
Of course.
Training fast twitch fibers. I would train them, reps would be 2 to 4 reps. Faster, more explosive, or a little bit more of a load. Think about Henneman's size principle. We have an old school video on Henneman's size principle from probably 2 years ago.
Yeah, 2020.
Yeah, one of our first, way back. You can see how bad I was back on camera back then. Do I recommend nitric oxide for a supplement? It's okay. I don't really think you need to use it. I think you can get more NO just from drinking like Kvass. And then Tom Riddle, he's been lifting for years. He just wants to add a solid 20 to 25 kilos on the total, and he can't seem to figure out why he's not getting better from year 4 to 5. I would ask Tom, I would ask you, what's your best back squat? what's your best clean, what's your best snatch, what's your best front squat, and then that's going to help me figure out where you're at. Mainly because that's going to your back squat to your actual competitive lifts is going to help with sort of like the garage strength algorithm that we use. I mean, especially when it comes down to all of the stuff inside of parabolic periodization, where we break down those percentages quite a bit. Vasu commenting, that's a lot of work for Jason. I think that's the biggest thing, is that Jason's not just managing the YouTube channel, he's also managing me. Really, is that it's like constantly dealing with my schedule and what I'm doing, who I'm coaching, where I'm coaching, when I'm traveling, when I'm not traveling, what are my ideas in my head, what are things that I might say to when I walk upstairs and I just want to get shit done. So Jason's managing a lot of different factors outside of just running and filming the actual YouTube channel.
Well, thank you, Vasu. I appreciate that. And Steve, I saw you chimed in earlier. I do appreciate that. Yeah, it's actually I had to give Dane some unfortunate news as he gets ready for the World Championships, which if you stick around in the next half an hour, we will be bringing on Jake Horst and Haley Reichert, who will be competing at the Weightlifting World Championships next week with Dane in Bogota, Colombia. He's going to have a hectic week next week as we try to film a bunch of content to finish out the month of December. But he's not going to be very happy with me in the next few days, and that just kind of comes with the territory.
Explain to them how far in advance do we plan?
I mean, we're trying to plan 2 months in advance. If we could get to the point where we're planning a full quarter ahead, that's ideal. But I think the hardest thing is always trying to pivot.
Yeah.
Because you might have ideas that you think make sense 2 to 3 months out. But then as you get closer, you learn more, you produce more content. I think that's the cool thing about what we do, is we're always learning. And it's also the most aggravating thing about what we're doing, is we're always learning. So we realize things that we think could have worked 3 months ago don't necessarily work for what we know now. And then we are constantly changing up the video ideas and pivoting. So that's probably the hardest part. But ideally for you guys, I think the only way...
Death's being a little rude right now.
Oh. I'm sorry, I can't manage the chat right now. But I will say... Planning, yeah.
Ooh, this is a good one. Shoe views, video idea, discussion with South Dakota State wrestling team or coaches. This is actually...
We should go out there, yeah.
So that's actually one thing. A couple people have talked to me. So one, either South Dakota State, or two, making training or testing videos around our elite athletes if we go out to the university to get testing done. This would be at Marquette. I don't know if I've even talked to you about that.
I just heard about it during the live stream.
Yeah,
Sounds cool.
They want to figure out like pulling strength, power output, force production, all things like that with the throwers. So I think doing something with the South Dakota State wrestling team, and I will be going out there in February, but then also doing something with testing with the throwers. I think that's where like people can get to see a lot more of the hands-on stuff. And even Vasu just said, like a day in the life. I think that's one of the things, maybe it's like showing people what we do. And I don't know if people would actually care. I think that's one area that we struggle with, is like, would a vlog actually do well?
Yeah, I think it's hard. I mean, when you get to really like the more advanced side of YouTube, you have to be a bit more selective with the content that we choose to do. I think we'd like to do more vlogs. The problem is, and this is kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier with Trevor, and this is something that I think, like, in case you're tuning in with chat and you're not super in tune with what Dane does, Dane isn't really a YouTuber. Like, he's not a full-time YouTuber. This isn't what the main side of Garage Strength is just him making videos. He's not like other fitness YouTubers. He's an elite professional coach first. So when it comes to getting content around vlogs and stuff, it can be a bit difficult because the performance of the athlete is the number one thing that we focus on, and everything comes second. And even your mental health, and making sure that you're able to stay in the zone as a pro coach everything else has to come second. So vlogs can be a bit invasive, so it's hard to do. And also you just gotta be respectful of, like, a lot of people know you as the guy who's giving good workouts and strength knowledge, so maybe like a majority of the audience might not be interested in vlogs. But we do want to start doing more. I think it just comes down to, like, as we grow the channel and we can get more creative with how we present them, I think, you know, they could be more interesting to a broader audience, and you guys would like to do them. And I think that's where, like, you know, while I'm still here, if you guys have any ideas for videos that you'd like to see in the future,
Throw them in the comments.
yeah, we'll look at them, we'll discuss them. If you guys have any questions about videos, like, you know, we have some cool videos coming out this month. We just filmed a video with Jaime Perez, who is the world champion discus thrower that just moved out and is training with us. And what you're going to see in that workout is some of the most explosive lifting from any woman on the entire planet. Like, just moving insane weights insanely fast. We did post a video of her hip snatching 92 kilos, but watching her do it and doing so many other exercises, I think that's going to be a real treat.
Yeah, I think that's more like that vlog style. Answering some of the questions here, my thoughts on nicotine and vaping. I think vaping, I'm not a huge fan of. Nicotine does have some performance. It does have some performance impact in a positive way. I think balancing that stuff can be the main goal there that you got to focus on. And I would just be hesitant around it. I don't think it's the worst thing ever, but I think you do just have to have keep that in mind. I don't know what the javelin press would be. I don't know. You'd have to tell me what the javelin press is. Justin Stanford, it would be South Dakota State's wrestling team, not their throwing team, wrestling team, their wrestling team. So to answer some of those questions, but I think going back to sort of echoing what Jason was saying is, like, one of the biggest things that we do is we just train athletes to be as freakishly strong and as explosive as possible. And I think that, you know, even going down to the nitty-gritty exercise selection and stuff like that, that's what we're constantly focusing on. That's what we're constantly striving towards. And so we do want to capture that stuff in vlogs, and we do want to get that out there. And if you guys have comments or concerns or questions based off of other types of content, like, hey, how can we bring that stuff to you guys a little bit more? Let us know. Holding a barbell in one hand and doing overhead presses. That's not bad. Yeah, that's not bad for racket sports. I think that would be good for racket sports because of the shoulder stabilization that you'd be having there. I think that'd be cool. We got about, when's Haley coming in? 10 minutes?
Yeah, it should be about 10 minutes. Oh, that's moving quick.
Yeah, David B. I would use that javelin press. So I actually might screw around with that this afternoon while I'm training. Does anybody else have any other questions for Jason? I think one of the most interesting things behind YouTube is just constantly studying the analytics, going over everything, seeing what the audience wants, knowing what the audience wants, and then just constantly being in tune with you guys. And it, you know, I mean, Adam asked a question, how can I decrease my 40 time? I think decreasing that 40 time, even, it's like, all right, that's something that a lot of people want to know. You know, and if you want to decrease your 40 time, there's some strength stuff, there's some technique, there's some plyometric work that you have to work on. And it's like, how can we get that content out there to you guys to help with you improving that all the time? So Vasu, love to hear from GS athletes, share their goals and what they're working on and how they get here. Vasu, Jake and Haley are going to be here in 10 minutes, so you can ask those questions and find out what they, you know, how they go about thinking through those different things, and I think that'll be pretty valuable to be able to pick their brains. You know, two athletes that, you know, Jake's a multiple-time world team member, Haley's a multiple-time Pan American champion, so it's like these are some of the best athletes in the entire world, most explosive athletes in the entire world that you're going to be able to ask them those questions.
One thing I'll throw out there, just in case anyone wants to chime in here, because I know a fun question people love to ask is, if there's any other fitness YouTubers you'd be interested in us collaborating with, doing some collab videos.
That's a good one, yeah.
Throw them in the chat, and, you know, we'll think about it. We have one coming up potentially in the next few months that we're pretty excited for.
Who?
Bill?
Oh. I don't know if I don't know.
Yeah, we're still figuring it out though.
Would body weight exercises such as pull-ups, push-ups, dips be good enough for a strength and conditioning program for fighters? That's absolutely good for strength and conditioning. I don't think it needs to be just those, but I think you can do a lot of those body weight movements to help for a fighter. Wrestling exercises to improve power and speed. Hang power cleans, hang power snatches, dumbbell snatches, trap bar jumps, single leg squats. All of those are going to help. Mommy, how would someone who's in college and works 25 hours a week deal with the lack of motivation to work out because of the decreased downtime and free time? I would just put it like, you know what? Can I get in 20 minutes today? Can I get 20 minutes done of a workout today? And then you just, you get the 20 minutes done, and then you have that feeling of accomplishment. Like, all right, I got 20 minutes done. Now the next day, can I get 25 minutes done? And you just slowly add in that time to make sure that you're not failing. I think a lot of people will say, well, I work 25 hours and I go to college, and then you want to work out for 65, 70 minutes, and then when you don't do that, you feel bad, you feel like a failure, and that leads to a decrease in your motivation. So it's like, don't set yourself up for failure. Just try to get in a decent workout. It doesn't need to be crazy. It just needs to be something. And you start with something, and then you just slowly build, and you slowly chip away at it. Alpha K, my bench has been stuck on a plateau for a few weeks. Any tips to help? Alpha, what I would say is we actually have a plateau breaker bench press program. It's not inside of a Peak Strength app, but it's a separate PDF program that's available at garagestrength.com. You can use that. And Steve Wonderland, you and I have talked about Josh Beauregard. So he used to be the strength coach, I think, at Iowa State. And he was at Iowa State for 10 years. And you'd like to see he and I bounce some things off of one another. I think that would be a great resource to talk to for sure, Steve. Alpha K, I would do the 80-60 drop for about 6 to 8 weeks. So make sure you do that for a prolonged period of time. Don't just do it 2 or 3 times and then expect that result. Try and make sure that you're actually focusing on that for a longer period of time. Again, 6 to 8 weeks and get through that at least 6 or 7 times. And then you could do a test at the end of that to see if your bench has gone up. I think that's one of the major things that sometimes we forget in the strength and conditioning world is like, dude, it takes time. Some of this stuff does take time. So, Alpha, I hope that we can help you get over that. You're 14 years old, so you've got a lot of room ahead of you as far as training is concerned. Have you tried clap push-ups as well? I would do that every day, 50 clap push-ups. Any other questions for Jason? Jason, do you have any other comments?
I'm trying to look at our schedule that we have coming up. We will be covering Dane's recent weight loss in a video that's probably going to be out in the next 2 weeks. So Dane's actually been doing a lot of new stuff with his training that he hasn't done before and has led to, this is probably the fittest you've ever been, right?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, so Dane's 38 years old. I first met him, I was actually probably his first client. I met him 14 years ago. When he was in his mid-20s, and he was in pretty good shape then, but like it's kind of crazy to see where he's at now, to see him get as fit as he is now, and getting as you get into your late 30s, early 40s, and he's still able to jump really high, sprint really fast, lift a lot of weight. So I think if you're someone who's looking to try to like improve your own fitness goals and just get in better shape, this is a video to keep an eye out for.
I am 6'1", and I weigh about 225. 225, 230, somewhere in there.
Ideas for collaboration.
I like those ideas. Jesse James West, Nick Simmons, Meg Squash, Jeff Cavalier. Those would be huge people to get.
I think some of those are really cool, and it's funny. We've actually been talking like about 2 of those guys, very frequently in the office right now. So,
how many times a week would you recommend a bench? Twice. Ryan Krauser, he seems to be going places. Yes, he has the world record and Olympic champion. That'd be an interesting one actually for us to collab with, would be Krauser.
Yeah, I mean, he does have a YouTube channel, so if you guys are interested in learning more about throwing and just experiencing what it's like to be like the best ever in your sport, which there aren't many of, the fact that you get the insight into his training, check out Ryan Krauser's YouTube channel.
Yeah.
He'll post like 30-minute workouts, and even Dane and I will just sit and watch him, and there's so much to learn. He does stuff a bit differently than the way Dane programs, but still really, really good stuff.
As far as my thoughts on Jeff Nippert, I think he, you know, I think I don't think he's that bad. I think he does a decent job explaining things. I think he's brought a lot of people in the world of resistance-based training. He's jacked. He's shredded. Vasu, I really enjoyed your video where you watch clips of Liu Xiaojun, Cristiano Ronaldo, and comment on why they're so good. I now follow Liu Xiaojun on YouTube. Ooh, Emilio, how you doing, buddy? I do like doing those. Those videos just didn't perform that well for us.
Yeah.
Tips to keep shoulders healthy in the bench and lower back healthy in the squats. So this is for Emilio, another member, another private member right there. Some of the main things I would say is dumbbell external rotations, Y's on the incline, band pull aparts, a lot of pulls. I think one of the big things that you'd see if you use the app Peak Strength is like we do a ton of pulling exercises, a ton of pull-ups, okay? So basically for every press, we're doing a pull. And so that's how we set up supersets. And that's what I would recommend to you guys as well, is if you're going to have the stable shoulders and you're going to have the ability to sort of maintain that structural balance, you've got to make sure that you are doing a fair amount of pulling and that you are even working on things like the supraspinatus, infraspinatus, all of those little muscles that can take a beating if you're lifting quite heavy. And now with the lower back stuff, Emilio, as far as improving your lower back strength, I would do reverse hypers at around your body weight. Okay, so you could also do also glute hams with a bar on your back, anything like that. That can lead to strengthening your lower back. Also, pause back squats, pause front squats. That improves your hip mobility and your stability out of the hole. So I think that's how you can really focus on improving that lower back strength. Best exercises for a high school baseball pitcher: dumbbell external rotations. We have an old school baseball video. This is from like 2007, 2008.
Oh, yeah, that video. Yeah.
And we've got a lot of cool exercises in there, like side sledgehammers, side med ball throws, Lincecum lunges after Tim Lincecum, a lot of single leg squats I would recommend, a lot of shoulder stability work, and a lot of trunk work for pitchers. Anyway, you can fit a 30-minute personal meeting when you're in Brookings in February. What content or contact should you use? I would email support@garagestrength.com. I do have a Calendly link, and yes, we can figure that out. Eli Cohen, can you create a weighted calisthenics program focused on pull-ups, dips, and squats? A weighted calisthenics program. So, okay, so you want to do like body weight stuff, I guess? I mean, we have a body weight program. We have the Berserker program.
Yeah, I mean, we actually have a couple programs. We have like a strength and power. We have a speed program. And we also have like the mobility program, which is a bit different.
Oh, here's an interesting question.
I want to say something about the Athlete X kind of thing real quick with what Muhammad brought up. One thing I'll say about Jeff is I think part of the reason why a lot of people dislike him and why he's so controversial is purely because he's so big.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I don't think, like...
Because he's so popular.
Yeah, I think it's like, you might not agree with most things that he says, but, I mean, to be fair, like, you don't agree with everything he says, but, I mean, for what he is, I think he is a good representation of the fitness industry on the internet.
He's better than a lot of people.
Yes.
Yes, he's way better than a lot of people.
Yeah.
Mighty Squad's asking me what would I do if someone in Garage Strength came out as gay? I mean, one, we have homosexuals here, and that's perfectly fine. And two, I don't care. Like, dude, we're supporting anybody. We want to win. If you go all the way back to the beginning of this podcast or the beginning of this live, I talked about the J-Rock song, Win. All I'm worried about is winning. All I'm worried about is getting everybody to achieve the absolute best. I don't care if you're gay or not. We are going to help you become the absolute best version of yourself. I don't care about that shit. Okay, so I don't, like, that question sort of gets me fired up because it's like everybody is a human being, and if somebody is gay or not gay, if they can, become a champion, that's all I care about. Win, 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 win. F everything else. That's it. So it's like, I don't know, sorry.
And go to garagestrength.com for our Black Friday deals. I'm actually going to be tagging out, and you guys will be hanging out with our World Championship qualifiers, Jake Horst and Haley Reichert.
Is Haley here? Greg Everett,
you
Piros. Piros would be an interesting one to be on here. Natty or not, Jason would love that one. Yeah, Mighty Squad. That was an interesting question. But we got Jake and Haley here. And we have a lot of stuff here. Retro Loot, thanks for tuning in. Take care. So we are here with Haley Reichert, Pan Am champ, and Jake Horst, who got third at Pan Am's.
Yeah.
Two-time world team member. Haley and Jake are also stars in various YouTube videos. I don't know if I go like this. Will everybody fit in? So basically what we figured is we would bring them on. You know, we've got about another half hour to 45 minutes that we're going to roll. Steve, my weightlifter, is a huge Jake fan. That's awesome. Yeah.
Shout out.
Steve's got a weightlifter that the weightlifter actually has DM'd me too, Steve, where he's like, I want to meet you at Nationals. So when he makes it to Nationals, he's got to also meet Haley and Jake if they're there. So I figured if we brought these two out onto the live stream, you guys could ask them any questions that they have. And some of the stuff, Vasu, you had commented on. I don't know if you're still in the chat, but you had commented on how they prepare, how they manage their goals, how they manage the stress of competition and all those different factors, and even how they stay motivated and how they focus on their motivation. So if you guys have those comments, put them into the live chat, and I'll start off with maybe how did you guys figure out that you wanted to be really good at weightlifting?
You decided it for me.
Okay, that's fair. Explain that process, Haley. How did I decide for you that I wanted you to be good at weightlifting?
I would come to the gym. Every day you'd make me do legs. I hated it. And then it turned into just doing O-lifts, snatch and clean and jerk all the time. You wanted me to do that, whatever, McKenna was having a meet.
Oh,
to
yeah.
try and qualify for youth nationals.
Yes.
And I didn't want to do it. You and Caitlin. It was Caitlin at the time, too.
Yeah.
I think it was more of Caitlin just trying to get me to try it.
Convincing you to go lift.
Yeah. I mean, once I started it, I had fun. I mean, obviously, I'm still in it, but I never knew about weightlifting.
What about talk about your diet
My diet.
and your favorite cheat meal?
Favorite cheat meal.
Jake won't talk about his diet because I want to punch him in the face when we talk about his diet.
I was just gonna say my diet could be a lot better for Dane's on Dane's level. More so just like the whole tracking part of it. But my favorite cheat meal, to be honest with you, I don't know. I don't really.
Ice cream.
That's
like-
mine.
I don't know. I'm not a huge ice cream fan.
Haley, what do you eat in a day?
Reuben sandwiches.
Oh, yeah.
I like ice cream
Um,
bars, like
What do I eat
Fat
in a
Boys.
day?
Yeah.
I eat oatmeal with protein in the morning, which Jake thinks is disgusting. Usually
Yes.
chicken and rice for lunch, or chicken sausage and rice. And then dinner, ground beef and rice, chicken and rice. Gonna have a lot of turkey and rice this week. Pretty boring stuff. I mean, well, now I'm cutting, so I can't
Yeah.
really eat a ton of stuff. I've been eating more shrimp and rice. Everything is rice.
So basically shrimp or meat, rice, and vegetables.
Yeah.
I want to answer this question quick. The hang clean, is it safer? Is hang power clean safer than power clean on a lower back? I think that they would be about equal. I think actually the hang clean can expose your back a little bit, but it does help you keep it tighter from the eccentric portion. What are your guys' thoughts on hang cleans?
I don't like it.
I like hang cleans.
Why?
I think hang cleans are good for improving your technique a lot, especially when it comes to knee movement and learning how to catch the bar tight. People, I'm just gonna use someone for an example. Like Anna McElderry tends to crash sometimes on her clean. Something like a hang clean or like a hang power clean could really help improve her her tight catch when her elbows are coming through, and I think you can use it more as like a technical coordination thing to like fix your movement than really like a strength building thing. That's where you just like squat heavier and grow balls and clean heavier.
So you would rather a hang clean over a deadlift?
Yes. Yeah, no deadlifts here. Not for me.
Okay, here's another good one for both of you. Were you guys super athletic since you were babies and had parents, friends guide you to athletics, or was it just pure coincidence that you started lifting?
I've always been decently athletic, I would say. Like,
Jake will tell everybody in the gym he's the most athletic person that comes to the gym.
yeah, but I didn't do that many athletic sports growing up. Like, I played soccer a little bit.
And wrestled.
I wrestled, and I was awful at things like baseball. I've also been really small my whole life. Like, I wrestled 75 pounds when I was in 8th grade. So like, I didn't ever play football or anything like that. I never did track. I really started weightlifting when I was like 8th grade, 8th or 9th grade.
Because you were lifting he was lifting for wrestling. I would say
Yeah.
this. As far as like pedigree, Jake's the most athletic on YouTube probably. Mainly weight class sports. So Steve, actually Jake's dad was an NCAA All-American in wrestling and a Pennsylvania state champ in wrestling. So as far as like pedigree is concerned, Jake would have more of like that genetic predisposition because his parents and his dad and his your grandparents and your mom's family's athletic as well.
Yeah.
Haley's family, not that they're not athletic, but they're not like hardcore athletes. So it's more like Haley's parents are just sort of like, they played high school sports, but not to this like elite world class level. So I would say Haley's more of like a normal kid background. Jake had a little bit more in the genetic background as far as like being more predisposed to being an elite level athlete. But you're also the best athlete out of all your family, like your entire family.
Me? Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no shot.
Yeah.
But I've been doing it for longer, you know?
yeah.
Like, I think if my older brother, Noah, might have tried to be
he's a
like
good
more
athlete.
of like a professional style athlete and lifted and did stuff till he was 25, he probably would be similar to me, right?
But
it's just
I think
when you're 18, you kind of like let go of that
Right.
athletic potential because you don't really peak till you're in your late 20s, early 30s as an athlete.
Talk about Steve Wonderland here. He talked about how do you guys track your progress when it comes to training? But how do you guys manage that? Like as far as lifts, as far as technique, as far as even nutrition, sleep, and stuff like that.
I'll let Haley go on this one.
Well, I track the numbers of training in the program. The technique stuff, the technical analysis videos.
Do you use notebooks?
Yeah, I write down my program in a notebook. I don't really ever go back and look through them.
But it's all there.
It's all there if I wanted to.
I would say that would help you in that day-to-day. Like every day, Haley, if you go into the gym, you can see her writing her program down. And I think that does keep you off your phone a little.
And I also, like, for each week, like our 4-week programs, like I'll go back and look to see, like, when I'm on week 4, like what did I hit week 1, see how I progressed, like, short term. But
Elijah Gage is asking, do you guys work at Garage Strength or just train there?
I work at Garage Strength. I run our social media, so anything you see on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, that's me. I've been with Dane for, I don't know, 6-7 years.
Did you work?
was that 2016?
Yeah,
2016.
You worked at when we were at the barn?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been with Dane since 2016 as an employee. I've done basically everything you can think of here at Garage Strength, so yeah.
Literally everything,
Literally.
including lighting wood stoves and coal stoves.
Yeah, cleaning bathrooms,
Yeah.
literally hand in toilets. I mean, done it all. Haley does not work at Garage Strength.
Question for Haley. When did you start lifting and what did you find most challenging in the beginning? Asking as my 10-year-old daughter is about to start lifting.
Started lifting 2013, I think.
Yeah, so 2013 you would have been, 9 years ago? So you're 12?
Yeah. The most challenging thing. I think it was like a confidence issue. And the stereotypes of weightlifting. Like as a little girl, you want to be like
Pretty
feminine and pretty.
yeah.
Yeah, and I was just worried about getting bulky and looking like a man, having to wear a singlet in front of people. But I don't know.
Do you think you look like a man now?
No.
Front squats or back squats, Haley?
Front squats.
Jake?
Yeah,
You-
front squats. If you're
Jake's gonna say neither.
front squats, 100%. You can, if you only had to choose one for the rest of your life, you definitely do front squat.
Yeah.
For sure.
And I would echo Jake that is front squats. I would say for overall athleticism as well. Not that back squats are bad, but they're both great. This is actually a good question because Jake. So here's a good one. Jake had shoulder surgery a little more than a year ago, right? So it's
Yeah.
talk about that recovery. How did you handle that?
The shoulders. Okay, so like at first, I thought it was gonna be a lot harder than it was, and not that it's like it wasn't tough, but I don't know. You work so hard for something like lifting for so long, and then you have an injury like a shoulder surgery, and everybody's telling you like, oh, you'll never be the same. Like your brother Noah had the same surgery, and he can't do anything anymore. So it's like you go into it with kind of like, oh crap, like am I ever going to be able to lift it again the same? But then as long as you just listen to people who know more than you, because there's always going to be people that know more than you, you'll be fine. So, I worked with John from Mobility Doc 3 days a week. I was working with Dane for strength programs. I was taking, a good supplement regimen that Dane was having me take. A lot of collagen, a lot of like eggshells and stuff like that. And it kind of just helped my recovery back really fast. I think I competed at Nationals 3 months after surgery.
Yeah.
3 months after shoulder surgery, I competed at Nationals.
Wait, where was that?
I don't know. That was when,
Wasn't it here?
was that in Valley Forge?
No, that was before.
Wasn't it like during like the online meets?
No, it was an in-person meet because
Detroit?
Ryan beat me. Ryan and Jordan both beat me.
In Detroit.
Oh yeah, it was in Detroit. It was in Detroit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think as long as you just keep
Yeah,
like
you're
a
right.
a good positive headspace and just trust in people that know more than you, I think it's fine. And that's the number one thing about being an athlete too, is like the reason we work with someone like Dane is because we trust Dane and we know that he's going to take us to where we want to go. One, because he wants to succeed as a coach, and two, because he wants his athletes to succeed as a coach. But if you don't have that buy-in as an athlete to your coach, you're really not going to go far in this sport.
Who has the most contagious energy in the gym?
Jake.
Most contagious energy in the gym?
Yeah.
Ryan.
Ryan, get out of here.
I
He's
don't know.
just happy to be there though.
I
He
was.
walks into the gym with a smile on
That
his
is
face.
true. That is true.
I feed off like guests a lot.
I was gonna say this too though. What about when I'm in a bad mood?
When you're in a bad mood, I want to leave
Yeah,
I know, but that
because
would
I'm
mean
scared of
you
missing.
make it obvious. I think I do too though, when I'm in a bad mood.
I don't know.
I
Dane
was
doesn't
thinking
get in
that could
bad
be
mood that much.
that could be contagious. It's of negativity.
Well, misses are definitely contagious if you're a very mental lifter, like you're going up for a heavy temp, Haley misses, Anna misses, Ryan almost drops it on his head, and you're like, oh shit, I gotta go take this. Like, but that depends on who you are.
Somebody's asking me. Okay, so Steve commented he really liked about following somebody who knows a lot about a topic, knows more than you.
Yeah.
And you had mentioned this, Jake. So he's echoing what you're stating is very accurate. And I think that is, Jason had even mentioned this. We're always constantly learning, and I think that's the interesting part too with Jake and Haley is like, even though they are at the top of their game, right? They're very, very good. They are still constantly trying to make improvements, and they're always trying to just find or just hold themselves accountable to hit very specific things and using resources to get them to that top of their game. So I think that is a very important thing to address. Somebody also asked me, Ryan, when did I know I wanted to be a strength coach? I think I knew even before, when I was in high school, people were paying me to actually train them. And I think like one of the things that I take personally is like I like to be part of people's experiences and their path down whatever road they're going in athletics. And I think that's why I get so pissed sometimes in training sessions and Haley can feel this recently, is like I don't know what it is, but it's just like something around the success and around like that experience that I just really really value, and I don't know if you guys could touch on that, but I feel like that's just something that's always spoken to me as a strength coach.
Yeah, I think Dane is just like the most passionate coach you'll ever find, and I think that's why he, like, you see videos of when Haley hits a big lift or I do, like, he literally is like on the platform with us. Like, he will vertical jump like 40 inches to get on the platform with us to celebrate with us. Like, it's not just, I didn't just hit that lift. Like, me and Dane hit that lift, and I think that's why he has such good athletes, is because people like me and Haley, we're also feed off of Dane's energy. And we want to live good for Dane, not just for our own success. I think too many athletes are self-centered and don't care about other things. And then they can kind of, I don't know, they can get in bad blood with coaches and stuff like that. But I don't know, I just think Dane freaks out in training when stuff is going wrong, because he invests so much time in everything. And I think, we do the same back. So
I think that's the whole thing, and it goes back to, you guys know I'm putting a lot of time and effort into it, and in turn I know that you're doing that as well. So it's sort of like this reciprocating relationship back and forth, and it does lead to a lot of pressure and a lot of stress, and a lot of stress management. So that's like the other side of it, is also like constantly being able to handle all of that stress is important. Vasu's actually asking, do you guys train exclusively at Garage Strength?
Yep.
yeah, I've never trained at a gym in my entire life other than Garage Strength. Like,
I think that is funny. Like, literally.
Like, literally.
You've probably trained at other gyms like 3 times.
Yeah, I've dropped in places if I'm on vacation or something, but I've literally never had another coach in my entire life, and I never will.
I was going to answer, somebody had commented, how should athletes deal with a coach who isn't bought in and doesn't seem to want to be there?
Get a new coach.
Yeah. I think that'd be the
Get a new
biggest
coach.
thing, is immediately get a new coach. And I think like that's like, you got to ask coaches, like, what's their goal? There's people on YouTube or online or whatever, and they're like, their goal is to have more followers, or their goal is to have more, to do whatever, and that's great. But like, for us, it's like, dude, our goal is like getting them to the Olympics, getting them to world championships. One of those goals we're achieving right now. Like, they're both going to the world championships in 8 days or a week from today, basically. And so that's like a big step forward, because all of that work, we've achieved, you guys have achieved that goal from that work. But also, like, I think when a coach has that vision, the coach has to establish that that's the vision, that's the expectation, and you lay out that roadmap so that they can then fill in the roadmap and get there. And I think that's what a good coach would do. They have, or you guys have been out to the Olympic Training Center. They're asking this. So in weightlifting actually closed from the Olympic Training Center in 2017, I think, or 2018. But we used to go out there quite a bit with Jake and Haley frequently for training sessions out there. We would go out for about a week in Colorado Springs. Yeah. So who are your favorite? I want to ask Haley this one, to see what she says. Haley, who are your favorite weightlifters and other strength sport athletes? And do you know any of them?
I know one weightlifter, Kwo Hsing Chun.
Oh, there you go.
She's my favorite. Other strength sport athletes, I don't pay attention to sports. I don't even watch weightlifting.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
The only weightlifter I can think of is Chun.
Yeah. How about you, Jake?
My favorite weightlifter, I think, is Tanir Sajir.
Ooh,
And
Turkish.
yeah,
Old school Turk.
Tanir Sajir.
Fast.
I like, oh God, who's the, I always liked, obviously, Piros Dimas. He's the GOAT. And then I like Hampton Morris a lot. He's my buddy. He's my roommate for Worlds and all these events, and I just like the way he approaches training. I think he's got like a really unique head to him, and is an absolute monster.
Jake, what did you major in college?
I didn't go to college.
It's not true. You
I
went
went
for
to
a whole
college
year.
for a year.
A whole year.
Yeah, okay. I went to college for a whole year. I have nothing to show for it. That's why I say I
Jake's
didn't go to
major in college was Garage Strength Social Media.
Yeah. It was trying to get up and go to class, and then realizing I didn't want to go, and then just not going.
What about you, Haley?
Accounting.
Oh yeah,
Woo.
accounting. Does the USAW have any input on your training? Occasionally, so like right now, prepping for Worlds, Haley and Jake both have to input their information, their training into an app to inform them of what's going on. But they don't really, when I write the program, I don't have to talk to USA Weightlifting and get it approved or anything. I might talk to Mike Catone or Piros Dimas about what they're doing and what they might see, and use that as just like a little bit of a trigger. Like, okay, I'll try and think about that. But it mainly just comes back to what we're doing on site and how we're handling that. There actually might be a comp in Thailand. Love to buy you a round of protein shakes. There might be a meet in Thailand, or it's either Thailand or Korea. It's in Southeast Asia, and it's gonna be It's gonna be in 2024. It's gonna be a Grand Prix. It might be in Korea now that I'm thinking about it, but there is going to be a comp in Southeast Asia that they're going to be a part of. Subhadeep, can I do 300 kilo conventional deadlift? Of course you can. You can do whatever you want to do. You're capable of doing that. Would you prefer to coach a younger athlete who isn't all that motivated, or an older athlete who is committed to achieving excellence? I would say I really like training younger kids who aren't motivated, because you learn how to get them motivated. I think a lot of that, kids are so young. It's like they don't know what is motivation and what isn't motivation, right? They're just figuring themselves out. So I think it's cool to get a kid to be motivated, because you can start to help them learn their experiences and how to handle pressure and stuff like that. And that's what was so cool. Haley and Jake training with me since they were 12 or 13 years old was helping them realize how good they can be. And I think that's part of being a good coach, is establishing that vision for an athlete early on and being like, yo, I know how good you can be and you don't know. So let's do this. And I think that's something that is really rewarding as a coach. What are Sam and Jaime's practice PRs? I would assume you mean in throwing. Sam's probably about 66, 67, and Jaime is closer to 70. Alternate front foot and split jerk for athletes. Ever prescribed split snatch? We have never prescribed a split snatch. I don't know. Have you guys ever alternated your front foot in a split?
No.
I don't think so.
But you've
yeah.
had people do it, I think, for
Like
sports
just-
performance.
Yeah, I was just trying to think about with throwers.
But not with weightlifters.
No, not
Yeah.
weightlifters, but throwers. I've had, if they're a right-handed thrower, I've had them switch to put their left foot forward. How can you get strong as a power lifter, Jake? How would you get a power lifter strong?
How to get a powerlifter strong?
Yeah.
Bench more, squat more, deadlift more,
Perfect,
eat
yeah.
more protein.
Yeah.
I don't know. Have a
Would
good,
you have them do on their dynamic day? Would they do, like, let's say on like a fast day, like
Yeah.
a day 4?
Okay.
Do you think clean pulls would help their deadlift?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think cleans would help your deadlift, honestly.
Yes.
Clean pulls. It's also going to help your mobility, too, in your upper body, which is going to help your posture when you're squatting. It's going to help when you're benching, because you're going to be able to engage your upper back better, because you do bench with your back.
Actually, Haley, what's the most you've ever clean pulled? 25?
You made me do 30 that one week.
Oh, yeah. So Haley's actually, so if you think about this, Haley weighs like 50, 51 kilos, and she's pulled 130 kilos, which is 286. So weighing 110, 112 pounds, and she's deadlifted like close to 290. So that's like actually shows how, power lifters could really benefit from weightlifting. Haley and Jake, what are your thoughts on PEDs and weightlifting in other countries? So like when other countries get popped, or somebody gets popped with steroids.
I mean, unless I'm allowed to do it, it's not fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's been ruining our sport for 50 years. That's all I have to say. No
Yeah.
PEDs here. I mean, I know everybody's like, oh, if everybody else is doing it, why not just do it? Well, no thanks.
Yeah. How would you handle a college level swimmer who wants to keep doing Olympic lifts with enough attention to progress it. Caleb, boom, thank you. I would say swimmers could benefit. You could do weightlifting movements like snatches or cleans 3 to 4 days a week, and it would not hinder your swimming. And I think you could do variations as well, like 20 to 30 minutes each time. And that could lead to an improvement in your weightlifting. It's going to help you coming off the blocks. It's going to help you coming off the wall. So I definitely think you're capable of doing that. Have I ever met Lasha? I've seen him. I've watched him lift very close. I think Jake has also filmed quite a bit of his lifts in Uzbekistan.
I met Lasha last year.
Yeah, I didn't shake his hand, but I've been like, yo, what's up, bro?
No, yeah, Team USA actually trained with Team Georgia last year at the World Championships. We were in their same group for like lunch and stuff too, so I ended up saying what's up to Lasha. Well, I tried to. He doesn't speak English, but.
Do you guys ever have mobility issues that you have to work on, or has everything come natural? Having some difficult. This guy, Leah, is having difficulty with the deep squat.
I think I've been more flexible than Jake, but we see a mobility doctor that really helps with any specific issues we were having, or kind of like preventative stuff as well.
Yeah, we're kind of always working on something. I mean, once you get your shoulders mobile, you know your hips might tighten up, and then once you fix that, your ankles or something. So we do mobility every single day. We have like a specific mobility program for us from John, the mobility doctor that we see. But yeah, we're always working on stuff.
Yeah.
You're having difficulty deep squats. Open up the hips.
Yeah, I
let
think
the knees
Jake's
get over the toes a little better.
Jake's got like a weird. He's like hypermobile in some areas and really tight in other areas.
Yeah.
Haley's pretty stable all around, but Jake's just got like some quirks where he's like super mobile in his ankles. You're actually pretty mobile in your shoulders.
Yeah.
But from wrestling too, he's got a little bit of internal rotation, so he's got some quirks around his mobility.
Yeah, I'm shaped a little funny too. Like, to be honest, I have longer tibias, like a real short torso. So
Yeah.
things I think are just kind of, not that it's like a bad thing. That's just kind of how it is.
Steve's asking if we can get a picture next to Lasha at World Championships.
Sure.
On Impulse Day, would you do both lower and upper body exercise, or just lower body? That would be dependent upon how many days a week you're training. If you're training 4 days a week, you would do both. If you're training 5 days a week, you would only do your legs on Impulse Day. Darren, is it possible to get strong and look aesthetic like Russell Ori? I don't know who that is. Most powerlifters look really big and have lots of fat on them. But I would argue that powerlifters that are lighter, like think about 181 guys, like those guys are shredded. So it's definitely possible to get strong and look really, really good, just like weightlifters as well. Do you guys see yourself weightlifting to old age, or are you interested in doing other sports for fun when you're finished with weightlifting?
What's old age? Like,
Let's say 35.
I mean, it depends on the Olympics. But I probably won't do sports for fun. This is not like a leisurely sport. So I think just like working out to stay like healthy, but no sports. No more sports.
Dane's age, I said my age, 38.
I won't be competitively lifting past 35. No way. But
Somebody said 70 plus.
I'll always have weightlifting in the regimen for sure, just to keep me healthy.
Just like a power
athletic.
snatch or something.
Yeah, power snatches, cleans, maybe behind the neck jerks. But
Do you guys have any tattoos?
yes,
I
I have many tattoos.
Do you have a recommended weightlifting shoe?
I'm wearing the Nike Romelio 2. No, what are they? Fours.
I wear the 2s,
I like them.
and the Antas are very good too.
Brian Seacrest is tuning in. Wow, Brian, how are you doing? I can't wait to troll you later on today. I would say I would not use natural testosterone boosters. I don't think that they really work. Maybe Tonkat Ali a little bit, but I don't think it's a big deal. Sir, what is the best way to increase bench press? Best way to increase the bench press. Haley, how would you increase somebody's bench press?
Bench more.
Yes.
I don't like doing anything related to benching. Dumbbell bench.
What's the most you've ever benched?
I don't Did I ever do 35 on each side?
Yeah.
Okay, I did the 35s on each side.
So Haley's probably benched a little more than body weight. I mean, you
It was
push
when
press,
you were
though.
making me do like 10 reps too.
You also push press like 70, no, 80.
For a double.
Yeah, so Haley would definitely bench probably like 160. I
Do
think.
100 push-ups before bed every night.
Yeah, that's the best way. What is the best heel height? This is probably more for Jake. Best heel height, Jake. Oh, Haley would know a little bit too.
Whatever heel height the Romelio 2s are.
I think they're
like
point-
19 or 20 millimeters.
19 centimeters. Or, yeah.
19 millimeters. I don't know. Anything. It depends. It really depends. Like
19
I have,
to 20 millimeters.
yeah, I have way better mobility than Haley does in my ankles, so I have to use a lower shoe because if she has a higher shoe, heel or knees push forward more. Mine push forward even farther, which puts me in a bad position.
Are the biceps important to train, Jake?
Yeah, of course.
Would you train in Dagestan for 2 weeks? That'd be crazy.
If someone paid me.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Jan is not playing anymore. Jan is a coach at Virginia Tech. Talk to Dr. D-Ball to train for the Winstraw. Whatever that means, Tom. Tom, also, you never answered what your best back squat and other lifts are. What's your favorite time of day to train?
I don't have a
2
favorite.
p.m.
Just when we train.
2 p.m. in 30 minutes. Jake and Haley are going to answer like 3 more questions, then they're going to go get ready to lift. What's your vitamin supplement stack, Haley?
Vitamin C, elderberry, protein, ZMA, L-theanine, creatine. I think that's it. I don't know.
Jake? Jake's on like everything right now.
Yeah, I take so much stuff. I'd say the main ones are like a B complex, vitamin C, D. I take
Protein.
protein, creatine, collagen, a green supplement because nobody eats enough vegetables. I'm talking to all of you. I don't know. I mean, that's all I take, really. Everything else.
Steve Wonderland. I'm saying your name. Your oldest doesn't believe I said that. Haley, what's your vertical jump? You actually got it tested recently.
But I never got the results of it.
Oh, jeez.
What was it?
I think it was close to 30.
Is that good?
Yeah, it's really high. Jake,
What was that?
I think your best is 42 to 44, something like that.
My best was like 42 and a half or something, but that was when I was lighter. I could probably hit like close to 40 now.
Do you think full body 3 days a week is a good split to get better at the Olympic lifts, Jake? That's for Leah. Somebody who's just learning for fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think so. it all depends on what
What's
you're doing.
Jake's 40-yard dash time?
40-yard dash is a 4.2.
Shut up.
No, I could probably run like a 5.1.
Here's a good one before you guys go.
5.0. What's up?
What's it like training as a couple? How have you grown from it?
Some days I don't like training with Jake. But I think for the most part, I mean, it's nice having someone like holding you accountable. They have the same goals as you.
Yeah, I think it helps us a lot, right? Because it's like we don't go out a lot because we're training all the time. You know, we have similar goals, like she said. So, you know, we're very like-minded individuals. And being a couple with Haley has also helped me be a better weightlifter because I didn't want her just making all these teams by herself and leaving me in the dust. So I had to get good at weightlifting or I had to get out. So I started getting good so I could go on these trips with Haley because I think that's pretty fun.
Yeah, that is true, actually. I actually do think
Yeah.
that has played a major role.
Yeah, it's also like she's way better. Like she's always been smarter than me at school stuff. Like she's more organized. She's more clean than me. She does everything right and I don't. So having someone like Haley for me has helped me get my shit together and perform better, I think.
Well, then in turn, Jake has helped me with like confidence and stuff. He's not, the cleanest or the most organized or the most disciplined, but Jake has a better mindset, and I think that has helped, especially just in the last couple of years, and in the past week. That is.
All right. How many years of training would it take to achieve championship level performance? This will be the last one, and then you guys got to go warm up.
10.
Yeah. 9, 10. Now, Haley's been Haley made her first senior team in 2018.
18.
So you were
19.
so Haley was
Or I was about to
19.
turn 19.
Yeah, so that was about 6 years of training. But I would say look at it like that, like 6 to 10 years of consistent training. And I think, that's even going to be the same for track and field. It's going to be the same for football. If you start training in 5th or 6th grade, it's going to take till your junior, senior year to be really, really, really good.
I mean, what do they say? Like, how many reps to be a master at something?
Like 10,000.
10,000, right? So, like, if you say 10,000 snatches, 10,000 clean and jerks, 10,000 back squats, right? Like, you could honestly break that down into programs. Be like, yo, this is how many reps of each I do every day. This is how many days a week I lift. This is how many weeks I'm gonna do it on, and then you can break it down into years. And I guarantee it's gonna be like 15 to 20 years if you only train 4 days a week, and you're gonna be like, holy crap, it takes a long time. So yeah, it takes a long time.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, go warm up.
Okay, see ya.
Don't
Bye.
forget.
Black Friday sale today.
Yeah, what is it?
Spend $150 or more and you get a free Hydro Weight or free t-shirt. GarageStrength.com. You can also get Peak Strength for 50% off your first month or an entire year. We're never going to run that sale again, so make sure you get on peakstrength.app. Olympic weightlifting is coming soon to Peak Strength, by the way. Peace.
Jeez, Jake, that's pretty good. I'm impressed. You've been practicing.
Yeah.
That was a well done. All right, I'm going to be on here for another 10 minutes because I have to urinate shortly, and then I'm going to go coach. So let's see. Anybody else? Let's get 10 minutes. 10 minutes of rapid fire. High reps, no rest between sets can help build hypertrophy, but it's endurance. Is there any secret to increase sarcoplasmic fluid to look big and 12% body fat? 12% body fat's pretty freaking lean. High reps, no rest between sets can help. Yeah, I mean, I would just say, dude, keep hammering out. Like I like 8 sets of 8. Dude, 10 sets of 10 is one of my favorite rep schemes. Go a minute to minute and a half a rest period to improve that. Best lifts for sprinters, I'd say hang powers, single leg squats, front squats, single leg bounds. Negatives for muscle density, I just like control the eccentrics. I'm not a huge negative person unless you're using something like eccentric hooks. Have you ever done any MMA training? Myself, I have not. I was a wrestler, that was it. I never got into like actual fight-based training. In your opinion, what is the perfect powerlifting and Olympic lifting program or routine? To me, I would train actually on one of our weightlifting programs, obviously. We have like a hybrid program that we put together, basically training like weightlifting and powerlifting that I think is really effective. It can help improve your strength in your squats and in your pulls quite a bit. I think looking at it like I would use weightlifting and powerlifting together. I would use clean pulls to help improve the deadlift. I would try and push high bar back squats in that, and then using push presses for benching. Rich Piana endurance training, build hypertrophy, feeder workout doesn't recover muscle. Is the explosive strength for throwers program good to pair with the only a shot put circle program? If not, what is a good throws regimen to pair it with it? I would do both of those, yeah, for sure. Explosive strength for throwers program and the shot circle program. Those are both really, really freaking good. Does the gold membership, boom, thank you, Caleb. Does the gold membership come with nutrition info and other non-workout info, or is it just primarily coaching and workouts? It's mainly just coaching and workouts, and it's also up to you guys. Like, a lot of people buy it and they don't communicate with us, and some people buy it a lot and they're in the Facebook group and they email back and forth and they DM me quite a bit. So it really comes down to each individual person, and we can help with nutrition info as well. So any questions you would have, you could DM me or email me, and we would respond. Does lightweight clean and jerks help? Yes, it does. It does help with explosiveness, absolutely. Do you use high pulls on clean days? We use snatch high pulls, not really clean high pulls, but we do use them. Let's take 2 more questions. 2 more questions before I bounce, before I head out of here. 2 more questions. 142, wow. Do you recommend the shoulder care routine program for swimming? Absolutely. I think that's absolutely fantastic. 100% shoulder care routine for swimming is huge. Naturally, sarcoplasmic hypertrophy workout reps, quick, naturally. I mean, I would do, I think the best thing would be like 4 sets of 9, 2 to 3 sets of like 20 to 25 reps, and try and get it done in like 45 minutes, and you will get absurdly pumped. If I would do like bench and pull-ups like that, back and forth, even like 10 sets of 10, back and forth with a minute and a half rest between the two, you will get a huge pump. Elijah, we've been thinking about doing something with Phil in the near future. Absolutely. Any tips on getting into personal training as a career? I would just say read, study, communicate, put stuff out there, create content. That's a big factor. What's more important, the perfect rep or more weight? Both. I would do both of those things. I don't think that I think you don't want to get too caught up in the perfect rep, but you also don't want to like just keep throwing tons and tons of weight on. As a basketball player, what workouts do you recommend? I think hangs, squats to boxes, anything along those lines. Dr. B's transfer training is pretty good. It's not the best translated, but it is pretty good. Remember, guys, spend $150 today. This is for today at garagestrength.com, and you will get a free hydro weight, $150, free hydro weight, or free T-shirt. And this would include picking up any of our Powerlastics, any of our books, anything along those lines. Vasu will not be able to make next week's live session. Okay. If you have any questions, Vasu, send us an email and we'll try and cover it all. If you guys want to join the membership channel, you can sign up here at YouTube to join our membership where you will get a private access every single week. What else? We're also running 50% off all peak strength for the next 4 days. 50% off that first week and a full year if you want to pick that up. Until next time, guys. Peace. Thank you, Steve, also for traveling safe. We will.